Let me tell you a story. There are tons of incredibly powerful organizations all over the world, but you know what they have in common? They're all afraid of one man. His name is Peter, as we see him sitting atop the corpse of a hill of bodies. What's even more surprising is that this Peter is somebody in his 60s. We see a man close to death on the floor explaining if Peter did not act out, he could have remained the most legendary killer in history, but now thousands upon thousands of people are trying to take him down. Isn't that just tragic? We see the person that he is facing wearing a big bubble head right on his face, and we find out that Peter devoted his life to this gang, but now they're out for his head. He says, "You're him, aren't you, Peter?" And oh my gosh, who would have expected Peter to be wearing this really funny mask? He begins to think out loud, saying, "It doesn't make any sense. There are thousands of watching your every move, but how are you here? Nobody's even able to find you," as he just picks his ear. Well, technically it's the ear of his mask. He then begins to walk towards the man on the floor. He says, "I can have 10,000s of eyes watching me, but none of you are ever going to be able to find me." He then is about to take off his mask, and the man says, "Wait, this can't be. You are." As we see the silhouette of a man holding a cigarette as well as his pistol, and it seems like Peter has turned young again. 3 months ago, we see a dirty alley in Korea. We see an old man putting up a poster on the shelf as we hear a lot of voices telling him to stop because he hasn't been answering the phone to show up to his appointments, and he also has a lot of medicine on the table, and it seems like he only has 3 months to live. He says as he brings some books over, "I'm not even afraid of dying. I've always lived my life on the brink of death, and I don't even regret a single moment." He is now looking at this book in his hand, and it is about how to take portrait photos. He says his only regret is not having any photos of himself. We are at the Hana used bookstore as a lady walks in, and it seems to be a student. She says that she's looking to buy a middle school textbook as her MC is busy tending to some other things. He doesn't say anything, but he turns around in an instant and he says with a smile, saying, "We've got anything you could possibly need at our little bookstore." He is carrying some books. As he mentions, we have textbooks from all over the world from 1960 to current day. Is there anything you're looking for? Just the most recent ones, I'm guessing. She says, "I've got a younger brother in middle school actually." And he says, "Ah, I see. So you're the student from the high school down the street." She is super happy, and he says, "You must be a third-year student judging by your tag," and she is quite surprised that he knows his stuff. She then says, "What the heck is this?" It seems like he put a lot of books on the counter, and these are actually all brand new, and she only has 1,000 won on her, which is roughly $1 in USD, and of course he says, "You can just have them." She says, "I can't." He then rips it apart, and he says, "Well, actually, technically this is all used now, so you can have it for free." He then tells her, "Be good to your loved ones while you still can, and that way you can live without any regrets." She then says, "Mister, what's your name?" He says, "You can just call me Mr. Bay." She says, "Oh, alright, Mr. Bay. Have you ever regretted anything?" And he stops tying up the books. He says, "Well, I only have my fair share of regrets, but some of them he can't let go of," as we see his daughter is being taken away from him. He then says, "Don't do anything you could possibly regret," and it seems like she has a knife out, ready to stab our MC. He says, "I won't kill you if you do." She really wonders how he knew, but he doesn't even retaliate. He just says as he continues to tie the books, "I have never seen you around, so I had to ask a few questions. You said you were a third year, but the school has only been open for 2 years, and she begins to sweat crazily. She then says that this guy really caught me, and he also explains that it was a smell that gave it away. "I lived my life surrounded by the smell of blood, and do you really think perfume could hide your stench as well?" She doesn't really care anymore, and she has no choice but to eliminate him, and she really wonders, wait, I'm holding the knife, so why does it feel like I'm the one that's about to die, as her MC is holding onto the string? He then looks at her and she is surprised. He drops the book on the table and he says, "Take them. I can tell that you weren't lying about your brother," and she seems very confused and she doesn't know what to do. He says, "Oh, you're from that Yangguang orphanage just like me, huh?" And she's like, "Wait, what the crap? How did you know that?" He explains, "In our organization, if you fail to provide your volunteer service, then it's time for Plan B," as he dashes right towards her. He then grabs her by her neck, but it seems like he just saved her from the two people crashing through the ceiling, and they are armed and ready. He then covers her head as he protects her, and he takes a gunfire. He says if you fail your mission, then you need to get rid of both the target and the volunteer. She then looks under, and he actually got hit in the stomach as the blood begins to flow on the ground. They cut the corner and the bullets are missing them now. He has his own pistol as well, but it seems like one of the men took the lady hostage. He is infuriated by this, but he gets punched right in the face, and he also has a hard time controlling his body due to old age. The guy wonders, really? Are you telling me this is the legendary Peter? He says, I'm so sorry, Sir Peter, but your legend ends today. We see a bald-headed wannabe Saitama, and he has an octopus tattooed across his head. It seems like he couldn't go to Turkey for that hair transplant. He says it looks like legends can escape cancer, and this man is Octoman. He is the boss's informant, and I'm guessing he is also an assassin. Peter asks while he is laying on the floor, why are you doing this? What do you gain from taking me out? He seems really bruised, and no, man, he had a big smile on his face just a few panels ago. He says the boss is nervous because of you. There are thousands of people who want you dead, Peter, and it's all too late, because the bounty on you is 7.6 billion won, which is $7.6 million, and oh my gosh, that number is only going to increase. He says that's the exact amount that's supposed to be in my bank account. And Octoman says, yeah, it's the money you were paid for devoting your body and soul to this job. He says now that money is up for grabs, and he then smiles crazily saying, why the heck wouldn't I go after this money? And our MC seems so pissed right now, but he gets punched in the face as well, and punched even more and more. This guy says, why did you have to make things so difficult? He then gets sent launching through two curtains across the door, and he is lying down on a carton of boxes. They then head towards him, but he tosses something, and it is a flare bomb, as you see a huge explosion from outside the bookstore. He then manages to escape, and we see the young lady just absolutely frozen in fear. We see a park outdoors, and it is also raining heavily. He is panting super hard. We see a trail of blood beneath him, and he is quivering and absolutely shaky here, and it seems like he's reached his final moments. He looks back on his life, and he says while other kids were learning to write with a pencil, he was out there assembling guns and such. He was learning how to shed blood into a mannequin, and also he was learning how to tap phone calls, and each day of his life he was either a spy or he was also out on the battlefield with terrorist groups fighting for his life. But after the new boss had taken over, everything changed. This man says, he's basically going senile. I had high hopes considering Peter's illustrious reputation, but it seems like he has gotten sick, and he's already on his deathbed, and we need to get rid of him. He then grits his teeth and clenches his fist, and he tries to get up saying, how dare they treat me this way? I can't die like this. Anything but that money. That money was for my daughter. And so he begins to pass away in the middle of this kid park, and just like that, the job has been finished. We are now at Octoman's hideout at a Chinese restaurant. The two people wonder, we almost had him too. If only we eliminated Peter, we would have been rolling in the dough, dude. But these dudes are just cooking some stew. One of the guys says, he is a legend after all, and I threw away my kickboxing championship title for all of this? Really? He has a picture of Peter, and he says, I'm going to be the one to get this old geezer, and I'll boil him up like some sort of crawfish. They wonder who the heck is this, because somebody has wet hair and is also wearing the same thing that Peter was wearing. He says, oh, it's Peter, but they say, oh wait, never mind, he's just wearing the same clothes as him. The young man's forearms are absolutely veiny and pumped. He says, I'm not sure what's going on myself. And once I woke up, I was just like this. This guy then puts his hand on this man's shoulder, saying this is no place for young guys. But our MC grabs his forearm, and the guy wonders if our MC is in the business, and oh my gosh, he goes to punch him, but oh, our MC just catches his fist just like that, and he wonders how the heck he's so strong, despite using his bare fists. He then crushes his entire hand, and his other comrade goes to stab him in the back literally, but we see 5 shots of death just hit this man all over his body like he's getting an acupuncture, and so the other man is left to fight. He wonders who the heck is this guy. He says, being able to wield an edged weapon makes you 3rd class. Being able to wield every weapon is 2nd class, and for those who are 1st class, they can make anything their weapon, as our MC grabs an octopus and he's about to use it, and oh my gosh, don't ever mess with the MC. The man is nervous, really wondering if he's going to use an octopus leg, and so he dashes at him with a knife. Our MC throws the octopus at him, and he wraps it around his neck like it's a scarf, and then he literally just tosses him around like he's some sort of ragdoll, and oh no, his final destination is the boiling pot of soup, and just like that, this man was literally burnt alive, but it seems like he's kinda fine and whatever, let's just say he's seriously injured. Our MC remembers Octoman saying that his bounty is now 7.6 billion won, and he also remembers his ugly and disturbing face. He looks at the picture that he has of himself, and he really wonders if this was the only evidence of his face that they had. He was the absolute best in the business, and when our MC woke up, he magically returned to his younger self. He then begins to smoke, and he says the old Peter is now dead as he burns this photo, and our MC is back in his prime with those beautiful blood eyes, and nobody is safe from his revenge. We see a Mercedes on the road, and Octoman is really wondering how the heck did he not catch Peter. He says I need to catch him before, of course, his bounty is announced. The girl from before is just listening to him, and they arrive at the restaurant. Our MC opens the door to see everything clean and clear. He says you got fortunate, Octoman, cause definitely Octoman would have been his next target. We are down here at the subway, and everybody's wondering if this dude is a model. It is our MC with his shirt off, and oh my gosh, this dude looks like prime David Lade and some sort of bodybuilder. The gunshot in his side vanished, even the pain from the cancer cells is completely gone. He wonders if he is dreaming, and did this guy just get another body like Daniel from Lookism? That's gonna be pretty cool. The organization can never recognize him now, as we see him literally standing as his bounty is right behind him. He says more importantly though, I'm gonna need clothes that fit, and yeah, our MC is way too jacked to be wearing this old man's clothes. He says I only got paid 100,000 won this month though, which is only $74, and yeah, times are tough. We see people talking and chatting, and we see a smug-looking gangster saying, as a CEO, you gotta dress the part. I'm not some sort of thug, you got it. The youngsters nowadays just sign whatever contract you put in front of them. Our MC then walks up to them without a care in the world. He says this is a non-smoking zone. Don't smoke here please, I'll appreciate it. He then tries to smack our MC a bit, and he does it, saying that I'm in a good mood today, so cut the tough guy act and get out of here. Our MC then steps towards the exit, and it seems like he locks the door, saying I'm gonna end this quickly, and look at our MC's back muscles, this is absolutely crazy. He then walks back to them, and these two are really wondering if this kid thinks he's a superhero. He then pulls up his sleeve as we see his bulging tricep and his ripped forearms, and the guy is getting sick of our MC, but as he's about to smack him, our MC hits him right in the left side, he spits out saliva, and he comes crashing to the ground. The other man in that tight shirt as well, this tight little polo, is of course holding a pocket knife. Our MC really wonders what the heck he's doing because he's holding a pocket knife the wrong way. He's confused, but the guy says, I wasn't going to swing it around. Screw you, dude. Our MC just gets into his position, saying you wouldn't be sticking your arm like that if you really wanted to stab me. This guy dashes at our MC, but he just holds it and punches him right in the face. He hits him in the neck as well, and the guy wonders who our MC is. He says, I don't know what kind of shady practices you're in, but if you were to find out what I did for a living, well, let's just say you wouldn't leave this place alive, understood? And the guy is definitely shocked here, and he doesn't have the willpower to move. Our MC tells him no more illegal business. Understood. And welp, our MC's still broke right here, but he's wearing a beautiful suit because it's probably the one he just stole from that guy. We find out that the only thing he requested was for them not to touch his money, but in the end they did, and he really wonders if they're going to do it like this. He then says that he grew up at Yongwang Orphanage, and it was pretty much inside of a small church. 50 years have passed, and there is an ad right here, and it is called Glory Club's mission to feed hungry children around the world. That Glory Club turned into a large-scale crime organization, and Glory Club speaks up for those who cannot. They hide behind the alias of Glory Club. He then mentions that he devoted his life for this organization, but now he is going to be the one to bring it to ruin because of how far gone it has become. We see somebody sitting in some sort of butcher shop or warehouse, wondering, you came alone to catch me? Octoman says, well obviously, you're not some legend like Peter. And this guy on the chair says, You douchebags at the Glory Club have really been overstepping your boundaries. This guy seems really confident in his abilities, and it seems like he is surrounded now by 4 of these big dudes right here. I'm guessing they're Russian, and they're actually the top private military of the West since 1984. The guy on the chair wonders if this guy is being cocky. Octoman doesn't move from his place as the 4 attack him, and he seems unfazed, and the man on the chair is now shivering as he crawls away, wondering how this is possible, because Octoman just twisted this guy's neck, and he also twisted his own neck to look at the man sitting down. Octoman's specialty is contortion of his full body, and he's ranked first in the nation for Jujutsu, but yet he is only a rank B+ hitman. He yells for Octoman not to come closer, but Octoman then chases him with his whole body literally in the other side, and this is definitely like straight out of a horror movie. We are then back at Octoman's restaurant, and he is explaining to the lady that it was Peter that managed to beat up those guys in the kitchen. He says the bounty for Peter is going to be announced soon. I need to get him before anybody else. He informs her to tell me about anything you see or find out about Peter, and she remembers Peter saving her. She just says yes sir, but it seems like she doesn't want to do it. One of his waiters is really wondering what this is, because he tells the person we are closed for today. It seems like her MC is just sitting in the center table, and this guy really wonders, does this guy have an appointment that I wasn't aware of or something? He says, no, nothing planned, nothing in advance, no reservations or stuff like that. He says as he looks up and he's still holding his chopsticks, we have a score to settle, around 7.6 billion won, and Octoman just says, lock the doors. He speculates that this young kid is probably one of Peter's associates, and he then explains regardless of who you aren't leaving this place alive for your intrusion. He then also says in his head, wait a second, how the hell does this kid know about Peter? He's definitely not part of the Glory Club, and I wonder what this kid is scheming. The waiter then whips out a silenced pistol, and Octoman and Peter both meet eyes. He puts up 2 fingers, saying, you've got 2 choices. Tell me where Peter is, and you walk out of here crystal clean, or you can resist and take a bullet to your head. Our MC is still holding his chopsticks and he's acting so nonchalant, mentioning, you know what, I'm not actually fond of either of those choices. And Octoman's like, bruh, this guy's a douchebag. Our MC is about to eat some octopus in Octoman's restaurant, quite ironic. And he says, what about a third option? I am Peter, and it seems like our MC doesn't give a crap about keeping his identity hidden. Octoman wonders what the heck he's talking about. Our MC taunts him, saying, I just said it. I eliminated those 2 in the kitchen. He then wonders, wait a second, wasn't it Peter who did that? Something's not adding up. And if it wasn't Peter who eliminated him, then why is this guy attacking us? And our MC is literally eating here without a care in the world. He says that's a real gun over there, by the way, and even the girl from before is getting her weapon ready. He says, what relationship do you have with Peter? This girl has her knife ready as well, and it seems like she got injured on her eye. He then says, do you really want to know? And Octoman says, yes, I would really like to know. He says, there's only one way to find out, and you should know what that is. Take me out. Octoman smiles, saying, that is my specialty. And he says, leave him just alive enough to talk. However, something goes through the waiter's neck, and it seems to be a chopstick. It went right through to his fatal spot. And she says, this guy's around my age. Nobody in Glory around my age was this skilled. Octoman calls it pretty cool. He says that was probably just pure luck, even though luck doesn't exist. He says, what organization are you with? Europe? Is it perhaps the USA? He then says, you piece of trash, and he brings out his own pistol and he shoots at our MC, but he takes cover behind this table. He says, your young age is showing. You really are lacking in experience. We see blood behind the table here, and he begins to walk and he slowly reloads his pistol. He then turns the corner to look behind the table, but it seems like it wasn't blood. It was chili oil. He wonders where Peter is, but oh my gosh, he is right there hanging on the ceiling on the pillar, and he is still chewing his food. He then spits something on his eyes. It is a chili oil, and that must burn, dude. He smacks the gun out of his hand, gives him an uppercut right in the face, and Octoman says, what's with this dude? He is too strong. He then cracks this dude's neck, and he falls to the ground. But our MC doesn't know that, of course, this guy is a contortionist. He's then looking at his face, and this guy mentions, I've got decades of experience against hundreds of opponents. Nobody at this kid's age was that skilled, but he remembers that you always need a last resort tactic. It seems like he was being taught right here, and somebody explains, to defeat them, to your opponent, you must wait for them to have their guard down to disrupt their momentum. He then asks his teacher, a last resort tactic, what does that mean? And it seems like that's exactly what he used in the past, because he is actually good at using his body in different angles that are normally not possible. He says that he perfected that tactic, and he's confident that he will never lose to anybody. He then grabs our MC's neck, and he then begins to twist his body as well. Our MC yells out in a fury. He then yells with his eyes all red, "It's time for you to die." But then our MC's looking at him while they are on the ground. He says, "What? Then who the heck am I doing this to?" And it is the waiter from before, and he wonders, wait, my vision was so impaired that I couldn't distinguish the two. He says, underneath our MC's shadow, "I've done this for decades. That's why I'm sure I'm going to die at the hands of this man," as his heart begins to beat rapidly. He says that this young lad could be as strong as the 12 apostles. No, he might be stronger than them, and this guy has good intuition. He then grabs a lady, and he says she may not have much experience, but she will come in handy, right? He says, "Come on, lady, speak up. Come on." She says, "I don't want to go with him." He says, "Shut up, you worthless brat. We're talking business." Our MC then says, "I knew you would come and make the right decision, considering you're of Glory Club." Octoman is happy as it seems like he is going to agree to this, and he then runs towards the exit. But then our MC says, "Don't forget your last resort tactic. The moment you show your back to an enemy is a moment you've lost." And that was something that his teacher told him in the past. Octoman is now wondering, wait, it can't be Peter, and the one who taught him back then was Peter, and he is now seeing a younger version of him, and this must be absolutely crazy to see. He then lets out words of his mouth, "No one has seen Peter," and lived to tell that tale. And our MC leaps towards him with his hands, and in an instant he cracks all of his fatal points, and this man is done for, and our MC looks really stylish. We are now back in the bustling city, and this man has a big tattoo on his back. He wonders, all of the security cameras were destroyed, I see. Peter was shot point blank but still survived and eliminated 4 of our trained hitmen without a trace, I see. Let me think here. A mission rank of SSS, as well as a 7.6 billion won bounty. Relay these details to every single hitman in Glory. This guy mentions, I grant permission to eliminate Peter. And look at this tattoo on his back. I'm guessing this is the head of the Glory Club. We see civilians and pedestrians just crossing the street like it is a normal night, but a little young girl says, "Dad, look over there," and everybody looks as well, even our MC Peter. The billboard says, "Provide a warm meal for a senior citizen today." It is an image of Peter, and it seems like this is how they informed Glory Club hitmen on who their target is going to be. Also, by the way, the number below indicates the bounty, and that's kind of smart. Everybody is like, we're from the Glory Club Welfare Foundation. Let's donate 20,000 won and help. And that's only around $15. Our MC crushes his flyer in his hand, and he puts his hands in his pocket and his suit, and he looks so determined. And he says, "It doesn't matter if they find me, because I'm going to come and find them first." He explains that he's going to need allies if he's going to take down the club. However, he thinks of somebody who can help, but he mentions that this person might not be the best to work with, as we see a kind of crazy dog right beside her. We see a destroyed bathroom out in the middle of nowhere, and he opens it up. It's filled with trash and all of this sort of stuff. He says there are more people every time I come back. He says, "Excuse me, I'm just passing through." He is then looking at the wall with stickers, and he manages to press this tile, and a secret underground passage is revealed. He says this place is flashy as usual, and it's literally filled with gold, chandeliers, Louis Vuitton couches, and a lot of expensive decorations. We find out that she definitely used a lot of her money to space up the place. We then see a sharp object is pointed towards his neck. He says it's not like you can appreciate all of this fancy stuff since you are blind, and it seems like that's why she has a service dog. She then opens her eyes as we see that there is no color in her eyeballs or irises. She says it's been real quiet around here, but it seems like I'm going to do some corpse cleanup today, and they're going to have a battle. She mentions, as she uses her other senses to find out who this is, that this man is young. He doesn't smell of any alcohol, and so he's not one of the wanderers from outside. She tells us that she can smell the blood coming from him and there's no way he's just some sort of thief. She wonders if Glory sent him as she tries to stab him in the neck, but her MC just dodges it and he dodges even more attacks. But wait a second, this girl is still hitting our MC almost accurately if he wasn't Peter. I'm guessing that she uses all of her other senses. Our MC is put against a wall, and she mentions that this dude is kind of quick. She throws her cane at him, but her MC just dodges it as he moves to the right like he's doing some sort of dance. He says, "What's the matter? That wallpaper was expensive." She goes to knee him, and her MC really wonders if she's just been lying this entire time about being blind. But then just in a second, she is literally almost about to get RKO'd, and that's exactly what happens, but she lands on her butt because her MC is going to show some mercy. We hear, "I did not know Glory had somebody so young and so skilled among their ranks," but she says you're too soft, as there is a knife right in front of his head. She says you're probably not going to kill somebody with a disability, right? This can only end if one of us is dead. We then see the dog about to bite our MC, but then literally it just begins to go and lie down on its back and her MC is petting it, and she's wondering what happens. She says, "Wait a second," as she begins to hold on to Peter's face. "You're back to your younger self?" He says, "Enough with that, enough already," and she really wonders how is your skin so smooth and the old man's smell is completely gone. He says, "You've been good at this for 30 minutes now," and yeah, that's kind of weird just being touched on your face for 30 minutes. She then falls to the ground and lies down, really wondering how this happened. She then asks how the heck he died. If it was a poison, a knife, or a nuclear bomb, and if her MC were to die, it would probably be a nuclear bomb. Nonetheless, she is relieved as we see, of course, she got hit on her forehead. She wonders, "You're really telling me you want to take Glory out on your own?" He says, "I intend on entering the eye of the storm." He thinks if he's thinking what she's thinking, and he says there's only one way I can do it, and that is by becoming a new killer for Glory Club. And look at her MC's eyes, they're red, and it really just shows his ultimate nature of being a hitman. She then draws closer to him, saying, "What kind of nonsense is this?" And look at the dog, it's so cute, like it doesn't care. She then says, "You're young again," which means no one recognizes you, right? So you plan on joining Glory Club, so you know their plans to take out Peter or you when you were older because they still think he is alive. She then says, "Your mind of yours really can scare me." Anyway, she says, "You know what, your plan actually won't work. And as my senior, you should already know that to become a killer for Glory Club, you need to be from the orphanage Yongwang." She explains that the old Peter was from the orphanage, but this dude is a stranger, and dang, how tall is the MC? He's probably like 6'5" or something. He then says, as he smiles, "There is actually another way." We are now at a high school, and all these girls are like, "What? We're finally getting some hotties at our school." And look at that, it's our MC right here sitting with his hands in his pocket, and this definitely reminds me of Sakamoto-kun. Nonetheless, this man's name is Sunggu Kim, and they mentioned that this guy has such a manly name, and his skin is glowing brighter than her forehead. I mean future, but probably the forehead as well. They now have to go over to the assembly hall as these girls approach him, and he says, yeah, off we go. We find out that Glory Foundation founded their own private school called Shin Yongwang High School, and it seems like it's just an ordinary school, but the real reason it was founded was to foster killers, as you see the truth of them right here, students carrying out assassinations. He then says that's the only way for him to become a killer for Glory Club, and all these girls and guys are literally swarming around our MC, and it seems like they all like him. We are at Girls Ballet Choreography Awards and everybody's gathered around the basketball court. He says, "There is one exception to join. It's a very rare exception that is made. You have to stand out to them." We then see it is a blind girl and she's looking as well with her dog like, what the heck is going on? What is he thinking? He then taps on the mic as he's on the podium. They all wonder what he's actually going to say. And he just says straight out, "I am a killer," and everybody is like, what the heck? No way he just said that. There is another room above the gymnasium. It has glass windows, and these guys are actual killers as some of them have pistols, tomahawks, and even some sort of string, and he wants them to go and scout him out themselves. Everybody's like, what the heck? This guy wants to become a killer? And oh my gosh, he says, wait, I am a killer when it comes to hitting the books. And bro, that was one of the cringiest thing I've ever heard. Everyone begins to laugh and they're like, this guy is so confident. Well, actually, there's nothing wrong with that. We then see there are 7 people that approach our MC on top of the stage. They say, "Hey, killer boy, were you flirting with my Yejin? And this guy's holding a Gucci snake purse. This guy really thinks he's lit, but he looks like Dora. He then begins to cry, and we find out that this is Yu Seo Jang. He's been faithful to his woman for a long time, and he's also Shin Young-man's most romantic lovebird. But today, his girlfriend obviously got stolen because of our MC. He says we just met today. He goes to punch our MC, but he dodges it, and he goes to punch him in his head right there. But then, oh, he just flicks his head and there's a huge bruise. And this guy really is just showing off. One of the teacher runs up and he has a red card like he thinks this is football or something. He says no fighting as he pinches our MC's cheeks, saying come here as they leave off the stage. These people then wonder what they should do because they say should we look into him or something. This guy is quite interesting. Our MC glances at them and look at his cold gaze, as all of the people watching say that this dude is so dreamy, but he's a little bit cringe, but because he's hot, it's okay, and that just shows you how much people only care about looks, and this is a sad society we live in. Anyway, it is a girl from before. She wonders, what? Is this dude trying to destroy the school in one go? And yup, that's exactly what he wants to do. We hear, Yeonbyul, can I sit here? And it is our MC Peter, and it seems like Yeonbyul is a name of this girl from before. She says, you know what, I'm not even that hungry, but look at her plate, it's literally filled. Oh my gosh, this girl probably eats a lot. She says, shut up, and she remembers before, when her MC, this is back at, of course, Octoman's restaurant, he says, say that this is the man who killed Octoman, and it is a picture of Peter when he was older. She then wonders why he is after her. He says, no, I wasn't actually looking for you. She wonders as she eats on the strawberry, you changed your mind about letting me live, huh? He says, yeah, exactly, and that's why you're enjoying this yummy meal with meat as well as some strawberries, and yeah, I would love to eat that as well. She wonders what our MC is doing here, and she explains that this place is dangerous. What do you think you're going to accomplish here? Our MC has the sun literally hitting his face like an anime protagonist. He says, then you can help me. She wonders, why should I? As she literally begins to leave, and wait, did she finish all that food in a couple seconds? He says, I'll be in touch, Yeonbyul, or should I say Yuna, and she wonders how he knows her real name. He then disappears in an instant, and we are now at the school festival. We find out, my name's Jonathan, I'm the track star of this high school. He set the record for the 400-meter run in the high school division, but now he's decided to retire because our MC is way past him and this guy is not even breaking a sweat. He says, it's okay buddy, and somebody goes to cheer him up, and it's that fat dude from before, and we see somebody lurking in the back. We hear 2, 4, 8, airplane, and our MC has more than 20/20 vision, and they're wondering how the heck this guy is so good. Anyway, it's time to cut some apples, and maybe our MC is bad at cooking or something. Everybody tries, hey, don't worry, we can help you around. And even the teacher says, Sunggu, ask if you have any questions. He then looks at the knife from an angle of light, and this man just made a, wait, what? Did this man just make a, wait, how did he do this? They even mention, I think I just saw the rabbit breathe, and yeah, that's too far. We see people are poking at this teacher, and we hear, say something you coward, I don't feel like cleaning up. The teacher then says, how dare you talk to a teacher? But this guy just says, I actually forget you are a teacher sometimes, and they're pretty much threatening him about stuff. He then says, this is an infringement of educators' rights. He then gets punched over to the ground, and it seems like these guys are bullying a teacher. This is a crazy school. It is our MC, the killer boy, they say, as he's taking out the trash from inside. They then go towards him, and why is there a random girl here? What is she gonna do? As they wonder, why did you assault our teacher? They then spit at our MC, telling him to shut up and get lost. One of them launches a punch, but our MC leans back and dodges it. He throws a couple more, and he dodges it like he has Ultra Instinct like Goku. Our MC just smacks him a bit and tosses him to the ground. The other man in the tracksuit, thinking he's unique and got the best fashion, goes to hit a brick on our MC's head, but just in a second, well, that brick is gone because our MC punched it into oblivion. They're now apologizing as they even kneel on the ground saying, justice always prevails, justice always prevails, and yeah, they run away. The MC says, are you alright sir? He says, thank you for standing up for me. And he says, Sunggu, was it? Our MC is about to get kicked on the head, but yup, our MC just blocks it, and he says, I have an eye for talent. Our MC wonders what he means. He explains, your cup of coffee. While you were fighting those little brats, you didn't even spill a single drop. And he then wonders where Sunggu learned to fight like this. And he also says as he sits on the chair, why have you learned to fight like this? He says, revenge. I want to get revenge. And yup, look at his face, our MC is not lying. He says, I've lost everything and it might as well be dead. And so, we see the teacher and oh my gosh, He has a sleeper build as he takes off his jacket, and look at the veins and muscles on this guy. He says, how about you join our volunteer club? Our MC's been waiting for this because everybody's been approaching him and such, and he's also been watching him for a long time. This is the Glory's killer coach, and it seems like he's finally going to join the club. The teacher explains that it's not going to be easy for him in there, and we see the door open, and our MC is quite surprised that this is the volunteer club. He wonders if this is true, because bro, they literally seem like normal children just eating and on their phones and stuff. The teacher announces, everyone listen up, we've got a new volunteer, and we see Yuna there, or Yoon, and she really wonders why the heck he is here. He then winks at her, and of course she then looks behind her like, wait, what? Is that a signal that he's going to take me out? Anyway, he just smiles warmly and he says, thank you, I appreciate your warm welcome. These two people then walk up here saying, warm, Sunggu Kim. Know what? Your name doesn't even matter. This guy's name is Biggie Dokko, and this other man, Junior Dokko, they're both from the orphanage and cohort 58. The teacher says, come on, just get along, and everybody wonders, hey, let's grill up some meat. And they say, come here, piggy, and oh my gosh, they're about to come at our MC, and even Junior and Biggie Dokko do not want to hold back. Yuna tells them all to stop, and they say, you don't want to get smacked, Yuna, then just back off here. He says, new guy, I'm guessing you've got some experience in fighting, like those little delinquents around the neighborhood. He says, actually, I've gotten into a few fights, so I'm ready. One of them has a knife and the other one just his fist, and our MC stops both of their attacks. They say, guys like you don't know what we're risking our lives here. They say, we want to become a legendary killer, just like him. Apostle Peter, and oh my gosh, our MC's like, bruh, they're literally talking about me. This guy says there's no place for lazy nepo entries like you, and they both back off, and it seems like there's literally an image of Peter right there. I'm guessing it's inspiration. He says, this is wearing me out. Having the two of you talk, it's actually getting quite annoying, so come at me at the same time. They then go into their usual stance, and our MC says, I've been doing this for 65 years, you know that, right? They're all sweaty and stuff, and the people are like, let's go, you should have went easy on him. He got so scared that he ran away. Our MC is walking right here without a sweat, and she says, this is Yuna. Do you really think you're better than us at the volunteer club? He says, what do you think you're doing? She says, you know, I have pretty good eyes, and I saw it the whole time. You didn't even clench your fist, oh my gosh. And our MC just says, I don't know what you're talking about. I always do my best in any interaction or fight I have. Those two are so sweaty, yet our MC still got no drop of sweat on his face. She then pushes our MC up against the wall, and come on bro, don't turn this into a romance anime. She says, it's suspicious that you snuck into the school. What are you hiding your strength for? And what's your plan here? She wonders if he has something up his sleeve, and then he just crouches down and slips away. He says, you know what? Let's just talk about that tomorrow. It's time for lunch. And she's like, bruh, this is literally in the middle of the night, but hey, our MC could care less. We see a bus driver right here and somebody's in front of him. The man explains, oh, it's just me riding. I have quite a bit of luggage though. He says, fine, I'll load everything up. But he says, wait, what is this? The man goes up to him saying, take a guess at what's inside of this luggage, and it seems like he doesn't do it and they're just riding on the 718. This man with glasses and a suit looks very intimidating, and this bus driver wonders, there's no doubt about it. The suitcase moved and there must be somebody in there. We go back to the teacher, and he explains that their client is Yoon Chang Choi. He's a chairman of Daeha Group, and he's one of the biggest sponsors of Glory. He says if you complete this mission, you will be granted a volunteer license immediately, and you will become an official killer, as Yuna is surprised, but her MC could really just care less. He says that for this mission, they will pretty much be saving hostages, and one of the problems is that one of the victims is a son of Chairman Choi, and so one of the ladies just raises her hand saying, wait, why don't we just call the police? He then explains what Chairman Choi wants is vengeance, and look at the veins in his head. This guy is super angry. Nonetheless, all they need to do is save the son, and everybody whispers with each other. We see Biggie and Junior Dokko saying, come on, take us to take this commission on. He says, we've got some other teammates tagging along, right, Junior? And we see our MC as well as Yuna are super excited to go. And why does Yuna look so excited? Like, bruh, our MC's about to wreck you. Just kidding. They're ready for the mission, but the old man says, your first mission is to have a blast at the park, as we see them literally eating a churro and cotton candy while wearing bunny ears, and what exactly is going on? It is now carnival time, as we see some ladies in their exotic outfits of some sorts. The Dokko brothers are like, wait, Aren't they cold wearing swimsuits outside? And they're just looking and they don't know what is going on. She then begins to ponder, saying that according to teacher and according to Coach Lee, this is where Chairman Choi's son has been kidnapped as they were given the brief earlier. All they have to do is find and save this hostage as well as take down the kidnapper, and that's all Coach Lee gave them. She says this is a huge amusement park. What do we have to do to get there? She then wonders if her MC planned something because he looks so confident. He then says, how about we head over there first? We then see one of the workers say, sorry folks, you actually need a reservation to get into this ride, and he needs them to move out so other people can attend. The Doku brothers are like, what? You think we have time for that? And obviously these people have never been to an amusement park, neither has our MC. They then look for some other rides, and we then see the brothers literally on the unicorn carousel thing, and oh my gosh, they're even doing bumper cars, and they're having a blast. We are now with our MC as well as Yuna, and they are at a shooting competition, and this guy says, you're never going to win at my game. Everything is rigged, and there's no way that you're going to win against this. Yuna has a rifle in her hands and she says, I've never used one of these. But then her MC says, let me take it from here, and he takes away 3 big stuffed dolls, and the guy is just on the floor absolutely shocked at what just happened. They then call over to Sungu saying, come on, we gotta go now. He says, I'm sure it's their first time at an amusement park, similar to me. We see his childhood here as he's literally crawling underneath some barbed wires, and he says they probably had the same childhood as mine, and he is glad that they are enjoying this now. And he looks at Yuna saying, you'll never be able to enjoy such joyous moments again. Or if you do, it's not going to be for a long time. She's now sitting down right here, and she's of course eating because she loves to eat, and we hear a notification on her phone. We find out Yeongyul Choi, his AirPods try to paired with her phone, and she wonders if he's around here as we see him right here being abducted by some people. She says the location is in the woman's restroom, what's going on? She then enters and there's a woman fixing her makeup and such. She then goes to her asking, excuse me, where did you get those AirPods? And Yuna looks super crazy here. She reminds me of Ahsoka, but hey, hopefully Ahsoka's not here. We see a big man enter inside the woman's bathroom. What the heck? She says, she's trying to steal my things. And Yuna's like, no, that's not true. He smacks Yuna. Wait, what the heck is she? What are you doing, bro? But Yuna says, oh yeah, you're gonna smack me again? And she's definitely going to take care of this. Our MC says, I'm certain that she can handle herself, as she jumps up right in the air. She then grapples onto him, and she puts the lollipop right in his ear, but then she puts it in his mouth instead, and she doesn't want to hurt him. She says, what were you saying? She says, where did you get those earphones? As we see outside, it is our MC, and a lot of the people there, either workers or even just random civilians trying to enjoy, are looking at his good looks. We then see Yuna's back. She says, I found the location where they were last. He then says, it appears we had our guests on the same place. He says, think about it. The best way to make somebody disappear at a time like this is at a place where there wouldn't be suspicion of yelling. And it is a haunted house, and it's even sold out. She then points towards the entrance of the haunted house, and it's time to go as the doors slowly creak open. The Doggo brothers are right here, ready for action, but they are scared and they're literally holding on to Yuna. Our MC charges on saying, how come I don't sense a single person here? He then explains, be ready for anything. This is where their mission starts, as we see smoke begin to rise from the ground. He says our mission is half done, and the reason why is because they need to be kidnapped themselves, as they all fall to the ground, and we see somebody stepping towards them as Doggo's eyes begin to close. Anyway, Cho-Chi then yells in, where are the kids? Tell me. The man says they're probably on commission, I'm assuming. He then goes on the phone again and mentions that they're not actually answering. He says, this mission isn't simple. It's Sangdo Park. That's the person we're dealing with, and he was nominated to possibly become an apostle, and even Glory couldn't handle him, so they kicked him out, and oh my gosh, that's crazy. The student then says, come on, our students are capable. But Coach Lee is sweating buckets here, and oh my gosh, he says Sangdo is capable of far worse, and he holds on to his missing leg, as you see this pile and line of suitcases and luggages, and our MC and Yuna are tied to a pillar, and he says, as he has his apron on, kids, do you know, I drugged you with chloroform. And this is a very strong drug. He says Sangdo Park is a sicko, and he puts his leg or his prosthetic leg on the table because Sangdo Park did this, and they need to go and save those children. Yuna opens her eyes saying that Sangdo Park found out I was awake, and he then goes to grab her neck and he's going to saw off everybody's legs. And yeah, Sangdo Park definitely is a menace and a sicko indeed. He was about to grab her neck, but then her phone begins to ring. He then takes it out of her pocket, and it is nobody else than Coach Lee, and he says, "If you dare lay a finger on my students, just know that you will meet your end." He then says, "It's been a while, Mr. Guang. Is that any way for a senior to talk to their junior? And no worries, I'm going to cut off their legs just like I did to you." And look at Lee right here, he looks super furious. Sang-do Park then says, as he begins to put his fingers on Yuna's legs, he says, "Let's play a game. If you guess how many of your kids' legs are intact when you get here, Chairman Choi's son is free, but if not, then I'll take everything." And look at Coach Lee, he's literally shivering right here, and this is not a good scenario. Anyway, he then yells and yells on the phone, but it seems like this guy doesn't care, and he says, "Come on, act quickly, because the fun's about to start." Yuna mentions, "What the heck? His mouth's open. Does that mean he really fell asleep?" And she is talking about our MC. She takes off her shoes and socks, and she then tickles our MC's cheeks, trying to wake him up, and he's like, "Bro, what the heck are you doing?" She says, "Don't get the wrong idea, I was just trying to do that." And he says, "With the smell of your feet." And look, she's definitely pissed. Our MC then breaks out of the ties, and she's like, "Wait, how the heck did you do that?" We find out that our MC just straight up did it with his brute strength, and he says, "I'm going to stop that man no matter the cost." He then says, "Yuna, do you actually like gambling?" And she wonders where he's going with this. And at least for me, I like gambling, but it's not really good. We see both of the brothers free as they confront Mr. Park, saying, "Where is Chairman Choi's son?" He says, "Let's play a game here as well." And this guy says, "Oh, a game." They look at each other because they like games. We see Coach Lee, and he is rushing way over there, saying that you guys should not play this game with him. This guy then brings something out of his back. He says, "If you lose, you both have to leave behind one leg." And oh my gosh, this is a very unique weapon. Of course, both of them take off their shirts like they, bro, what the heck? They're like, "Let's go, bro, because we're going to make sure that you never walk again." One of his weapons is then tossed towards him, right beneath their feet. Biggie Dako brother says, "Well, I'm pretty good with knives." We find out that his specialty is high speed, and he's also the #1 knife fighter. They're going crazy and they are clanging left and right. He says, "I haven't gotten a finishing move in on him, but he's eventually going to slow down." But then, he says, "Wait a second. Something is so strange," as he got hit in his cheek. It seems like they're using the same knife. But then the man says, "Mr. Park, what's wrong? I thought this fight was supposed to go in your favor." He looks at his knife, and this knife that he has doesn't have a sharp side. And look at Mr. Park's expression. This guy looks like an absolute maniac. Our MC Peter, as well as Yuna, walk in, concerned about what's going down. They then say, "Stand back. This is our fight. If we can't win, neither can you." He says, "Isn't that right, Junior?" And of course he says, "Yes, Biggie." But why the heck is Biggie smaller than Junior? You know what, whatever, I'm not even going to say anything. We get a flashback to the Hell period. This is pretty much the final program or the final challenge before graduating from the program, and they were only provided with a single bullet, and they spent an entire month, no water, no food, in a forest. There were a lot of vicious beasts, and look at this, guys. Look how scary they look. They look like some summons out of a necromancer, and right here they have like little kids. Everybody used their bullets in a lot of different ways. They use it to hunt or even to betray others. Oh my gosh, that's so sad. And they even use it on themselves, as you see the little brothers here as they witness one of their friends shoot themselves in the head. They refused to give up as they were using sticks to kill these boars for food and such, and they were set on making it out alive. They kept their bullets until the very bitter end. We then see he is holding the gun. This is Biggie Dako, and there is a huge bear. Bro, this is like a 15-foot bear. Where the heck did this come from? We find out that this would be the very thing that could alter our fates, and that's how they made it out. Out of the 181 children in cohort 58, there were only 2 who survived. It was them. But what they heard after graduating was even crazier. When Apostle Peter was their age, he had set a record that never been broke before. And in the last 58 years, he was the only one to clear the Hell period without using a bullet. And oh my gosh, our MC really is a savage. It's been 10 years, they say. They've invested all their time and effort to become like Peter. And wow, this is just the ultimate yap session. They then go towards Mr. Park. Junior yells out to Biggie, "Come on, I've got him." Biggie then leaps off of the ground and catapults towards him, saying, "You'll regret giving me this knife." But then Mr. Park grabs his wrist and the knife falls out. However, yes guys, Junior is right beneath, ready to stab this guy. and oh no, their knife was shattered by him. He says, "Do you really think you can be like Apostle Peter? This is called a kukri, and this is a traditional Nepalese short sword." And we find out that he's been trading with this his entire life, and it's around 3 or 4 times heavier than a normal sword. He says this is truly a killer weapon, and guys, Sangdo is an ex-killer of glory. His specialty is Eskrima, and he is an estimated of an A rank, and that's definitely high. And shout out Philippines, because of course his specialty is Eskrima. They say shut it old man as they run and dash towards him, but he does the same as well. He leaps towards them as well. This guy is not some sort of ordinary white collar worker, they find out, and their body is then twisted. And they say with their last breaths, "Yuna, Sungu, please, run away." Yuna is worried, but Sangdo Park doesn't really give a crap, saying, "Come on guys, let's finish this game. 1 leg each." He is about to chop off the leg of Biggie, but oh no, it seems like Mr. Lee is on the phone and he can hear everything that's going on. Yuna shouts out, "No wait, he's actually going to do it." But then our MC just walks slowly, saying, "Let's play a game. You can have both legs, even an arm, even my head if you want." And this guy Park is like, I wouldn't expect something from you guys. So cocky. He is then tossed one of the blades. He says, "Come on, let's have it as fair play." He says, "No, you can't use that sword." But then our MC brings out something, and it seems to be a saucer. As he mentions, "This is all I'm gonna need." And oh my gosh, our MC is about to flex on this dude so hard. This guy says, "You kids really are a hoot." He then goes after our MC saying, "I won't go easy on you just because you're young." Our MC dodges it so easily. He uses a saucer to of course be a shield, and he calls it very creative. He says, "I'm sure 1 is enough, right?" We then hear Lee wondering what's going on, and he mentions to himself that he definitely can't let history repeat himself. He says on that day, Sangdo took everything away from him, and that must be horrible. We see a woman gambling right here, and he tells the woman as he has a fork stuck in a leg piece chicken. He says, "Will I leave this place dead or alive? Let's play a game. I'd put your bets on me." And there seems to be 5 people surrounding him from behind. This guy wearing a tuxedo says, "You've put the company in quite an awkward position. We've come to eliminate you because of all the things you've been doing." They then get the chainsaw, the swords, and guns ready, and this is Lee from before as he witnesses, oh my gosh, his subordinates get their arms and legs cut off. He says it was clear that his abilities are far beyond those of an ordinary human, and just like that, he slides and cuts off Coach Lee's leg. He says it didn't matter if they had chainsaws or something, and it was not stronger than his sword, because once he had those swords, it was a losing battle. Mr. Park then slashes our MC's saucer in half, and it seems like he also cut his head, but don't worry, it didn't hit him. He says your little shield has been torn into 2. We hear, "This isn't good" from Yuna. "I wonder what do I do now?" Our MC just says confidently, "I was pretty shocked to see that yours were quite sharp." Our MC just crushes the broken saucers, and Yuna wonders what he's doing, and he was waiting to use it as a knife, and oh my gosh, this is going to be an interesting fight. This guy says, "I suppose you're trying to prove you're not someone ordinary, huh?" He says, "I was so sure I got a good slash on him. I wonder how he dodged that." We find out that he took a step back in the millisecond, and it seems like Mr. Park got serious and he takes off his blazer. He throws it at our MC and he uses that as a distraction to of course just dash towards him. He then uses 4 slashes in an instant and in a blink of an eye. He says you've still got a long way to go, but our MC is right behind him, and oh, it was a pillow that he slashed, and our MC cuts his neck. And yup, it definitely did damage, and it seems he only cut his hand, but that's still pretty good. He asks, "Who really are you?" And Sangdo Park says, "With that dull tray, he can cut through thick clothes, and of course he can defend against the swords, and that's why he came for my neck because it is exposed." He mentions that I can't even keep up with his speed. This kid is way too crazy. Is he even a human? And look at our MC right here. He definitely does not look like one. Yuna is just watching all this stuff go around her, and she's just like that standing emoji. That's kind of funny. She says, "What the heck? That man is slower than Sungu. What's going on? Sungu is bound to win if this battle goes on." But then he gets hit right on his cheek, and oh my gosh, it seems like this guy had a secret weapon hidden beneath these swords, and these kukris have 3 times the mass, and so now it's going to be faster, and he's about to get hit by this blade. Our MC then dodges and dodges, but it seems like it's not doing enough. Yuna says something strange. Sangdo Park has an ice pick instead of a sword or a blade, and she wonders why he's just swinging them around. He then says to her MC, "Die, you little rat." The ice pick is right on his neck, but oh my gosh, it just falls to the ground, and her MC says, "Can't feel your hands?" and Mr. Park understands what was going on. Our MC wasn't after his neck. He was after his hands, and yo, his hands are absolutely sliced up. And he destroyed his flexors there, and that's why he completely severed every muscle, nerve, and tendon to, of course, wield those weapons. Our MC says with the bloody saucers on his hands, you know what, from the very beginning, I didn't want to even kill you. And this guy Park is just standing, like there's no doubt, this person before me is like a lion or a tiger. And yeah, that's a good representation of Peter. He says that this guy has killed countless individuals before him. And our MC then, he then crumples up the saucer and he puts it as a sort of glove. And he says, I'll end you with the powers you underestimated so much. And our MC is ready to get revenge. We see Mr. Park's life, and he is hung on a tree, and he's literally pissing on himself because he is hung backwards. They then say, we had fun today, see you next time. And this incident made him awaken a beast inside of himself. And it was this one, as 2 dogs are left in this guy's hands. And oh my gosh, he says, do you want to play a game? Our MC was hanging on by a mere thread, but you know what? He then left the dogs and he went to attack the guy who was controlling them. And he literally just destroyed this guy. Oh no, that was horrific. And the sheer dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline that flowed within him every time somebody bet on his life or bet on his life for the game or something, he would obviously come out on top. And it was like a drug, and he never failed to win. But right now, he is losing. As we see, he literally gets uppercutted by our MC and gets sent flying around 5 meters away. He says, this can't be, no way. Our MC is about to punch him once again. He has a literal grenade right here, threatening to blow up the bodies in the suitcases. He says, do you know what's inside all these suitcases? It's the children you've been looking for. Even the chairman's son, as you see him here literally in his pajamas. Eunice says that this isn't good at all. This guy's done for if of course he sets off that bomb. He begins to yell even more, but our MC just shoves it right in his mouth, and he then is about to pull the grenade. And he says, this is how you threaten somebody, and he does pull it out. He punches him right in the side, right on the back of his neck, and then of course, a fatal punch right to the dome. He then has a grenade right here, and he can't even say anything, and he's about to get wrecked, but our MC puts back the pin, because obviously, he's not done yet with this piece of trash. Mr. Park says, I didn't want to come to this, but please, can we please just call it a tie? Because obviously he's never lost a game before, and really, this is so unexpected. He says, please, I'll let go all the kids. Please, call it a tie. We then see Coach Lee barge in saying, where are you? And oh my gosh, it is Sangdo. He says this is not the Sangdo I know, because he's literally on the ground crying and begging for it to be a tie. Our MC saved the 2 Dokuro brothers, and of course it seems like things are going well. They also found the chairman's son who was shivering, and then they put Sangdo Park into one of the body bags, and he's still saying, please, it was a tie. Please say it was a tie. And yup, he was sent off to Glory's headquarters, and I wonder what he's going to do. Mr. Lee says, the nightmare in my past is finally dead, but I still can't believe it. We see the Dokuro brothers talking amongst each other saying, our team attack really did work on him. And Lee says, I've got a ton of doubts, and he thinks that of course it was our MC, but he says there's no way. I have no choice but to trust what our MC said to him. They finally get their volunteer cards and we're like, no way, we actually became killers. They then get super hyped and they say, wait a second, was he at least an A rank? Wasn't he supposed to be a rank S even? Then why the heck are we only a D rank? And they're now headed all the way to the bottom floor. The elevator dings and they are at their destination. We see 2 huge women right here, and oh my gosh, I wonder if they're like bodybuilders or something. They then say, wrong floor, hurry, shut the door. But then we see a very slim looking lady here, and they say, actually wait, open the doors. And yeah, these brothers really are just a funny duo. She says, come this way please, our chairman has taken an interest in all of you. And we find out they're going to take care of this entire group, and look how much food there is. This literally is going to become like a mukbang on YouTube. Anyway, our MC is even putting on this new suit and it looks really great, as we see Biggie as well as Junior Dako saying, oh wow, this guy is ready to pull all the stops just for us. And now, there is one last section. This is our chairman's biggest gift for you all. We see a gold-plated, gold glass inventory arsenal of all of these weapons. She says, our chairman would like to congratulate you on becoming killers, and you guys can get any one you need. And of course, you see the Dokuro brothers say, we don't actually need guns, isn't that right, Junior? But then the next 5 seconds later, and they're already filled with like 100 guns on them, and yeah, these guys are way too funny. She says, let's just send it via mail. We then see Yuna, and she says, whoa, are these Damascus knives? These are also S30 be steel, and these are actually really expensive. She remembers the fight that just happened, and of course she says it doesn't matter, I wasn't able to do anything during that fight. We then see the secretary ask, have you picked out anything, Mr. Kim? Our MC says, I'll take this, and it's just a fountain pen, and she really wondered that kids would have bigger dreams at this age. He says, I've used all of these weapons before, and so our MC probably doesn't care anymore. And of course, he says it's finally time to meet the chairman. She says, let me escort you to the chairman's office. But actually, the chairman would only like to meet with Mr. Sun-gu Kim. Our MC is now on the 41st floor with the secretary, and she says a fountain pen was a great choice. She says that was a limited edition from 40 years ago, and well, this guy says it was handed down to me by my grandfather, and yeah bro, probably not. It was probably you, because technically you are like 70 years old. Nonetheless, they are then talking and they finally reach the penthouse and look at this beautiful place. He says, please give us some privacy. And our MC is looking at this guy and he seems kind of dazzled. This guy says, welcome Sun-gu. This is Yoon Chang Choi. He's a chairman of the Dea Group, and that's the world's leading munitions enterprise. And this guy looks completely cool, and look down on his wrist, that is a Rolex. He asks how the dinner was, and our MC says it was absolutely fantastic, and the suit was a perfect fit. He says, why did you want to meet with me personally? He says, I know exactly who you are, and don't tell me that this guy knows that it is Peter. He then says as he is up close on his face, the name Peter, don't you know it? And our MC just smiles as he gets a flashback of Christmas Eve in 1978, and this is at the Namsan Mountain. Somebody gets electrocuted right here, and they're pretty much asking, where is Yoon Chang Choi? And it seems like they're torturing this guy to get some information out of him. This guy laughs, saying, there's only one way for you to save this kid, and he's actually speaking in Russian. He says that's for Korea to hand over the missile you developed for the United States, and hand it over to us, Russia, the Soviet Union. He says if you refuse, that kid is dead, and the chairman is like, no, please, and I'm guessing that this is the father. We get a phone call, and oh my gosh, we see a dude with a missile on a train, and he just blows up a helicopter in an instant. He says Delta Force has been taken down. Mr. O, it's time. You're not referring to that place, are you? That's right, Yongwon Cathedral. The president bangs in the confession room, and this guy asks, please, I'll give you everything. Please save my son, just help me. We'll support you for the next 100 years. He has his hands on the Bible, and he says, please send the best of those apostles to save him. This guy then says, I see, there is no need to worry. Things will all begin to go according to plan, and so let us pray. He says the Lord's missile has arrived in Moscow, and it is our MC when he was younger. He says, wait, I understand. Is it only that one dude though? He's alone. How is he going to do this? He says, don't worry. Even on his own, he'll finish this mission easily. And yup, this guy is the strongest of them all. And this is Peter. And look at this dude completely dripped out. He has his jacket to keep him warm, and he also has a Yushanka. And these guys are like, who the heck is this guy? One gets shot right in the head, and everybody goes down like flies. And yup, our MC brought the perfect amount of bullets for the amount of heads there. And just like that, the competition is finished. This man is holding Chairman Choi as a hostage, telling our MC to put the gun down. He then says, I know you're Peter the Apostle, that monster. Our MC puts his hands up, and it seems like he is actually going to oblige, but he says, listen here, Yoon Chang. And this guy's like, what? He can speak Korean too? He says, on the count of 3, put your head down. 1, 2, 3. Our MC has a coin in between his index and his middle finger, and he tosses it at the guy's head, and just like that, he was dead. And he then begins to speak Russian, and oh my gosh, our MC is way too cold, and this guy might be able to beat up John Wick. Chairman Choi, or the young Chairman Choi, is like, thank you for saving me. He says, are you also Korean? He says, I won't forget this. And our MC is just literally smoking on a cigarette, as we hear the kids say, I'll pay you back one day. He says, listen here, Yoon Chang, I didn't come here to save you. I came here to save the future of your father's group, the Deha Group. So come on and follow me. We're going to get you home. And yup, this guy says in his head, Peter is way too cool. Back in the present, Chairman Choi says, I will never forget the face of my savior. He says, Sun-gu, it's you. You must be Peter's grandson because you look so much like him. And oh my gosh, guys, I almost got nervous because I thought our MC got exposed. He says, I haven't been that spooked in a while, but it's good to know that that little kid from before grew up to be an awesome businessman and entrepreneur. And he then asks, I heard that all you picked out was a pen. It was a fountain pen. Why didn't you get anything else? He says, your kindness is enough for me. Chairman Choi then says there's no way I can let my savior's grandson leave empty-handed. Until long ago, his father had saved the future of Daeha's group's technology, and this is a St. Petrus 4. And oh my gosh, the secretary is right here on it like it's some sort of motorcycle show. He explains that this has the unofficial highest maximum speed per hour at 327.59 miles per hour, and he says you can guarantee that you'll be free from being caught by any spies or GPS or security cameras while on your missions, and this is super cool. Yuna is like, oh my gosh, it's so sparkly. And guys, we see Junior and Biggie brothers, and they literally still have the guns with them, and yeah, this is way too funny. He then says, Yuna, get on, as he tosses her helmet, and he wonders, what about us, the Dako brothers? We get a call from Coach Lee or Coach Gyu. He wonders if they are having fun, and he says, go and show them what you've got. We see the Dako brothers saying, let's show them what we've got, and they'd better not regret this, and then they're literally riding on electric scooters, and guys, I can tell that these two are definitely going to be a huge W for the rest of the story. Coach says when you get there, tell them that the vicious newbies have arrived, and they arrive at the Glory Club Gangseo branch. This is Hapjeong Yongwon Cathedral, and let's go. They are all suited up, looking all fancy, saying, it's not easy to be a celebrity in the killer world, and he says, I get it though, we're basically S-rank killers, and our MC just ignores them as he asks Yuna if she is ready, and she says in her head, I hope we're going to be fine. They look way too excited for this. The door is now pushed open by them, and she really wonders if this is where revelations come from. We find out that revelations are pretty much the missions received by the people, the killers, in their given ranks, and they're now giving some communion right here, tossing them a slice of paper beneath the body of Christ, and this is going to be their mission. Yuna is like, so this is how real killers get their missions, but her MC is like, oh, so this is how low-ranked killers get their missions. We see Biggie and Junior Go looking at the paper below, and the mission is to fight. They wonder what this is about. We then see the priest. I don't even know if this guy's a legit priest. He says you guys must be new, so you guys don't actually get newcomers. He then offers them the blood of Christ, or the wine, and then he pours it on them. And he says, you like that? I've been waiting for you to show up, you D-rank pieces of trash. And oh no, big mistake dude, the Doko brothers are definitely gonna make you pay for that. We see the wine soak one of the Doko brothers, and he says, you guys really suck. He then bites a piece of the bread off, and he mentions, I'm guessing you're one of them. You're one of the people who don't fear true pain. They're then gathering around him, as well as the other people. As they say, you brats don't even understand how low you are in this hierarchy. They say we don't, and he tries to kick one of them, saying, we were born to make it to the top. They're then launching attacks, but all of these guys seem to be dodging it. As he says, you know, for a B rank, your mouth is really talkative, and he says playtime is now over. They're going to go at it, and we then see Yuna saying, come on Junior and Biggie, you guys got it. They've gotten way more confident as one of the B ranks is pushed to a corner. He says, where'd that thin one go? And we see that, oh my gosh, Biggie is right underneath him as he grabs his feet, and he says, Junior now. He then goes to literally smash his head with his hands, but then it seems like he has been stabbed on his hands right here by one of the other people, one of the hitmen, and oh my gosh, he gets hit in the face right here, and Yuna is super worried as the guy just says, how does it feel? This person's name is Director Jang. He is 33rd in the B rank, and his specialty is gliding. We find out that the D rank killers are assigned commissions that target ordinary citizens, and there are 330 of them. There are 200 C rank, and they pretty much go up against organizations and violent crime. 100 B ranks, which is kind of impressive, and they deal with internal conflicts with other killers. And 36 A rankers, and they take care of assassinations within the realm of national or international security. And once you become a killer, life is nothing but weapons and bloodshed until you die. As you see Peter literally sitting on his throne here, that looks kind of cool. And pretty much it's always going to be a climb to the top. He then says, you can dedicate every fiber of your being to make it to rank A. However, you can never get to rank S, because these guys are the cream of the crop. And these are only 12 of them. They're known as the Apostles, and Peter, our MC, was one of them. He then says as he chokes Doko, want to know how to become an apostle? He says, how? He says you die and be reborn again. And oh my gosh, this guy is a savage. He then punches Biggie just like that, and he seems to have been passed out. Junior is still alive, and he says, yo, Yuna, you little girl. Weren't you Octoman's minions? You don't even deserve D rank as well, as he flicks her head. Somebody then grabs his wrist, and it is our MC. He says, let's not cross any lines, sir. And this guy wonders what's up with this dude Peter. He then squeezes his wrist, and it actually begins to get hurt. And Peter says no words at all, he just looks at him. And things are about to go down. He remembers when the blind lady said, "You're supposed to be a newbie killer. How could you take out an A-rank killer?" She says, "You can say goodbye to all the plans you've set up here. Forget the kids and just stay in your lane, okay?" He says, "I know I'm going to get my revenge on them, but right now he needs to lay low as a D rank." He then gets slapped, and Yuna is just watching him get slapped left and right like it's a slapping contest. He's about to get hit once more. And he says, "Let us take our friend to the hospital, please. One has a stab wound and the other one is knocked out." And of course, it seems like they need to be treated immediately. He says, "Now, please, sir." The guy says, "Yeah, fine. You know how to sweet talk your way out of something, huh? But in return, hand over all your volunteer license." And oh my gosh, he says, "Come back when you're ready to take me on." They then leave the cathedral, and of course Biggie is like, "I can't believe this. What are we supposed to tell the coach? We lost all of our licenses." He then says, "Yuna Songu, I'm sorry we couldn't protect you," but then our MC just puts a helmet over, of course, Biggie, who is crying, mentioning that it is time for lunch. We then see Yuna and our MC Peter on a motorcycle, and she says, "Hey Songu, what can I do to become stronger?" He says, "That really is a silly question." She says, "Aren't you upset? We got all of our licenses stolen." She says, "We were weaker than them and it was bound to happen." But then she then puts her head on her MC, and she seems to clench on tightly, and it seems like she is very sad about what happened. We are back at the cathedral, and these two guys are pretty much explaining, "Which one? The pretty one? What about that brat?" He says, "No, I'm talking about the tall one. I don't know if he's young, but his gaze was real vicious." And oh my gosh, our MC is right there praying right in front of them. He says, "Your senior is talking to you, stop." Our MC says, "Why did you have to take it so far?" And of course, he says, "You're going to realize how scary this world can be, you little brat." Our MC explains, "You will finally meet an S-rank killer," and oh my gosh, these guys are gonna be done for. They're standing across from each other as one of them says, "What an apostle can do? You really think you're that good? I've been here for 14 years and I've never seen an apostle." He says, "Come on, we gotta keep this brat in check." But then Mr. Jong is just standing there. He says he's just a high schooler, and I don't even know his name. But still, he's completely open. And that gaze, and look at his eyes right here, he says that isn't the gaze of a D-rank kid, and you're absolutely right, and our MC's eyes really are menacing. Of course, the other dude mentions, "Come on bro, don't tell me this kid scared you." He says, "No way," and he then scratches his head, saying, "I'm just imagining things. Come on, he's a nobody, right?" He then has a book here saying, "You know, we have an unspoken rule here. If a senior or higher ranked person sees their junior conspiring against them, there's no choice but to execute the junior," as he threw the book. And our MC just blocks it with his arm as he expected. He goes to punch our MC, and then he's going to bend down in pain. However, he's going to also hit his eyes, but no, none of that happened. We see his arms get chopped off, and he says this wasn't just an ordinary rosary. He then comes back to his senses, and his head literally gets chopped off by that rosary, and he is of course holding onto his neck, and that was all an imagination. He says, "What the heck?" The other guy says, "What are you doing just standing there? Come on." He is sweating bricks and sweating buckets, saying, "We can't do this. It's because I've already seen the outcomes," and oh my gosh, he's died thousands of times as we see a hill of him right here. He says this is beyond just a losing battle. Those sense of doom in his eyes are far beyond anything that this man could have imagined. He doesn't want to die because of course he remembers he slapped him from before, and so he says, I'm sorry, please forgive me this once." He says, "I'll promise I'll never." But then our MC says, "I heard that one of the basic skills of a killer is the ability to detect death, and it appears you're quite the capable killer, sir." He then falls onto his knees, and the guy inside is like, "What the heck are you doing?" as our MC walks away. We then see somebody waiting outside, and oh my gosh, it's that blind lady, and dang, this girl really is rich, and look at her cute little dog, Alexander. She worried, saying, "What if you got caught?" He says, "Don't worry, that won't be happening. That man is a B-rank killer, yet he lost to a D-rank, so obviously his pride wouldn't let him tell anyone." Anyways, she asks if her MC needs a ride, but he already has the best ride as he zooms off into the sunset, or actually the midnight sky. We see the coach getting infuriated as we see the Dako brothers wondering what they're going to say. We hear, "Hey kids, it is a dude from before," and they're like, "No, it's a ghost! Help, the power of Christ compels you!" They then get nervous as they get into a weird fighting stance, and he says, "You know what? Quit it, brats. Here, I'm giving you all of these back." This guy then puts his hands in his pocket as he looks at her MC, and of course he gets a bit sweaty, saying, "This kid still gives me goosebumps." Anyway, he says that's enough because they're bowing down. We see Yuna's card right here, and then the Dako brothers begin to brag about how they were stronger, and yeah, these guys are way too funny. We then see Yuna in the sparring room and she is stabbing this mannequin. She remembers the fight between Sangdo Park as well as the Dako brothers, realizing how pathetic she actually was, even against the apostles too, or not the apostles, but when they were in the cathedral. She literally could not do anything. She then stabs, saying, I truly am pathetic. And yeah, honestly guys, she really is kind of pathetic, like Sakura. No offense to you, girl. Anyway, nonetheless, she says, I'm only going to be putting my brother Yujin in danger. But then our MC steps in with his hands in his pocket and hands her back her card. She says, I don't deserve that license. And he wonders if it's because of her brother, as we see the image of him on the phone. She then says, what do you know? He says, you know what? I don't know anything actually. But he grabs her hand and he says, he's not actually your blood-related brother, is he? So he says, tell me what exactly happened. We see that her brother is really nice, saying, can you come with me? This is when she was a bit younger. She says, I'm not your actual family, you know that, right? She says, you're not even my real brother. We find out that she was shoved into a subway station locker and she should have died, but she was brought to an orphanage, and although they were always low on food, it was actually also uncomfortable there, but she also had no friends. She had no intention of forming any bonds because of how sad she grew up, and this is honestly a heartbreaking story. We see a beautiful sunset and she is down here weeping. She is crying on her knees and she really wanted to die. We then see one day she then wakes up and it seems like her bleeding is quite severe. The doctor says we can't stop her bleeding, and should we send her to the Yongwang hospital? They say for what? Just throw this woman out. We then see her brother then walk out of the room, and she's like, what is he doing here? She says, I'm so relieved that I'm going to die. But then we hear, are you awake? And it seems like the doctor wakes her up by opening up the curtains, and she wonders how she is here. She then looks for Yujin, and all the other people are like, I don't know where he is. She says that little boy is so stubborn. She goes to look for him and she looks and she says, where are you, Yujin? We then see Yujin. Oh my gosh. It seems he gave so much blood to her, wondering if his sister is okay now. She says, I thought I had no family, but little did I know that I already had one, and it was Yujin, and he was always watching after her, as she begins to cry her eyes out. This guy explains, you know that each blood packet costs around 1300 USD, and he's been taking one of those every 5 hours, and so that's so crazy. Yujin then hugs on to the doctor, and he's like, huh, what do you want, Yuna? She says, please, don't abandon him, doctor. How much will this treatment cost? Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm his sister, and that's the reason why she found her reason to live. She says it doesn't matter if you don't look alike, and I'm going to save him. And her MC says, that's good. I was too nosy and overstepped some boundaries though. He says, continue with your trading. But she also says, while she doesn't look him in the eyes, you're the strongest person I've ever met. Please, I need your help. Help me to become stronger, and let's go. She's about to get way more OP. He then looks at her with no reaction, and she begins to blush. Like, why are you acting like this? She then coughs, saying, I want you to become my teacher. And she then points at him, and come on, this is literally a K-drama because there's only one singular light in the room and it's on them. Nonetheless, there's this awkward silence, and he says, is this how you normally ask for favors? She then turns around, saying, you know what, never mind, I don't even need a teacher. And he says, oh, I was already thinking about that. She then goes up to him like, wait, what? You're going to teach me? Let's go. He says, I'll think about it. But let me point out some things first. You lack physical strength, lack a standard amount of stamina, and you are a coward, and you have a bad temper. However, what you do have are eyes that are perfect for killing. She wonders why. He explains, not for a single moment in any of the fights did you close your eyes, and that means she is really attentive. It's almost as if she's trying to remember everything she's looking at and practice it on her own in the future. He says, I guarantee that your dynamic visual acuity is way greater than anybody's, and she wonders why he is complimenting her. He says, I know of a weapon that can actually change your weakness into strength, and that can also defeat anybody in combat, and that weapon will turn you into a true killer, and she seems it is right in her hand, wondering what exactly is this. We then see somebody smelling money, and oh my gosh, it is the Dako brothers, and they say, looks like we get a daily stipend or a weekly stipend of 1 million won. Oh wow, these guys are gonna get rich or something. And our MC says, this stipend doesn't really mean much to apostles, as Junior Dako says, I wonder how much apostles get, because obviously they have every luxury known to them, as we see Peter right here on top of a literal yacht. He's then actually quite glad that he knows how much a D rank makes, which is only 1 million won, and he says, by the way, I don't see Yuna around. They then are just looking at their money saying, Yuna, she's probably at her part-time job. She probably cleans floors as we speak, and we see her in a hazmat suit of some sort, and she's cleaning the traces left behind by killers, and that's kind of ironic. She really is something else. She's an official killer as well, but still she's working so hard. And she looks at her phone case, and this is all for her brother. And also for eating, we see the reason why she had so much food on her plate from school is because she wants to save money. And dang, Yuna really does love her brother. He then says, you know what, you gotta spend money if you want to make money. So that mindset's gonna get her nowhere. And I'm not gonna lie guys, this is somewhat true. Our MC's kind of ignoring them, and he says there must be something about her brother that Yuna hasn't talked about. And we see, it seems like Yuna texts the brothers. Her nickname is Fatty because she loves to eat, and she's asking if they can get him or get her a scarf, even though it is the warm weather. We are at a freezy ice factory, and oh my gosh, these guys look like Mikasa, and they're literally shivering together, saying, Yuna, our time's valuable. We charge 1,000,000 won per day. She then has no scarf on, saying, just last week you were so broke that you couldn't buy lunch. What are you saying? And we're here to train. They then punch the ice block, saying, are you breaking these with your hands or something? She says, no, with this. We get a flashback to when she received it from her MC, and this is called a rope dart. She says, really? How is this going to help me do something? He says, if you wrap the rope around your body and throw the dart at your enemy, it's actually super OP, and it is a wushu form of arts. It's super destructive when launching it with a spin, rather than throwing it out. He says, you know what, another strength of this weapon is that your opponent cannot predict where and when it will hit. And so she says, that's actually pretty good. And guys, look at Dako brothers, yo, these guys are just like, huh, what the heck is this thing? This is just a little toy. He then tries it, and it seems to do good damage on the ice block. Yuna says, you know, guns are one shot, one kill, but this is different. This can destroy a lot of things as she uses it. And oh my gosh, with the rope dart, it's one shot kill all. And even Biggie and Junior are like, wait, she destroyed all of those in one swing? How did she do that? They then say, what was it called? A rope star or a rope bar? And oh my gosh, these guys have bad memory. Nonetheless, we then see the manager. This is Bingsu Park. He is rank D, and he's the owner of the Freezy Ice Factory. Go ask Yuna how was it. She says it was great. I'ma clean it up, then I'ma leave. He says, clean this? Really? He says, Yuna, you know what? I've seen a lot of killers train by breaking ice blocks, but I've never seen anyone bring the place to shambles. And yo, this is absolutely crazy. This whole thing has become like an avalanche. She then says, I'm sorry. He says, no need. She then goes to pay, and he mentions, also 3 hours ago, your friend stopped by and paid for the ice, and yup, it was our MC, and he paid him a whole 1,000,000 won. By the way, that's around $700. He said he also wanted me to give you this. She tosses something, and it is Neosporin, and I'm guessing it's for the wounds around her scars. And yeah, she just stands here, and she knows that it was her MC, and she has a scarf now, and yeah, she definitely reminds me of Mikasa. We then see her leaving the factory, and she really wonders what she should say to Sung-gu. He says, you know what, whatever. She then calls him, saying, I just wanted to know what was for lunch today, and come on, just be straightforward and thank him. He then says, I also want to congratulate you on finding your true weapon, Yuna. She then says, see you later, and her MC is just looking at the student record. And he says, as he leaves the book on the ground, Yuna, did you know that the perfect weapon and strength that you desperately searched for has always been in your hands? And oh wow, she was some sort of ballet in the past, and that's why she's really good at using the rope dart. We then see Sang-do Park in a fury, and it seems like his body has been marked. Is he at a morgue or something? He says, I'll take on a whole truck of you B and C rankers, and he's literally naked, bro. Put on some clothes. We hear a voice that says, what a predicament. He then steps, and this guy seems to be a doctor of some sort, as he's wearing a lab coat, and they all bow down to him. This guy, Sang-do Park, is frozen as well. He drops his blade, and he says, here, Sang-do Park. As he gives him back his weapon, will you, somebody who is going to be an apostle, be able to take down an actual apostle? And this guy is an actual apostle, and we see his grin right here, or his smile, and this guy looks absolutely crazy, and this man is the Apostle Nathaniel. We see a kid just getting angry on the floor, literally kicking and stomping her feet. We find out that she is scared of getting a shot, and the Dako brothers say, what a chicken, she's getting all worked up for this, and they are going to go next, and they begin to shiver as well, and bro, these Dako brothers are way too funny. All these new official killers must go through a physical examination at Glory Shin's Yongwon Hospital, They're then getting checked in at the receptionist, and he says out of all tests, the one I'm worried about most is the blood test. She says, Sung-gu Kim, please come in for your blood test. And the reason is simple. They do this because of course they want to put a leash on you, because although our MC is young, his biometrics can actually change, and biometrics is pretty much like fingerprints and DNA. He says that's the data that they had when they went to go and kill Sang-do Park. He says that they're actually going to see that the old Peter's DNA and mine is actually the same, and his true identity will be revealed. And oh no, this doesn't seem right. We then see the girl that was blind, and she literally just has these cucumbers on her face. And she's like, why the heck did you actually do that? As she slaps his back. She says, are you just handing over your blood on a silver platter? Just get a billboard and say that you're Peter. He says, actually, that's not a bad idea. She's like, are you kidding me? Anyway, he explains that he actually has a plan to get them off his trail, and his plan is to blow up the bro. Oh crap, just kidding. But he says his plan is to blow up the hospital. And she says, do you know what kind of hospital that is? He says, I know. It's one of Glory Club's biggest treasures. That is a Shinyeongwang General Hospital in Seoul. It looks like an ordinary hospital, but the truth is, assassinations disguised as medical accidents, disposal of wounded killers, and concealment of bodies and such, this is a hospital made for and by killers as well. And he explains that the hospital has his DNA stored at the data center. She says, fine, but are you aware of who it is that guards that hospital? It's literally the Apostle Nathaniel, and yep, that's who we saw in the previous panel. She says he's a sick dude. We see him on his computer, and he's like, Hyun Il Na. So he originally was a doctor, and he was a genius one, and he was a blessing from the heavens. And this is 4 years ago, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, as we see a police officer wondering what that is. He wonders if somebody is drying their laundry, but he is suddenly shocked and spooked as he crashes into a wall. And oh my gosh, there were victims of a gang in Rio and they were all hanging. And he says, Captain, arrest them all. They're then obviously behind the door of the killer, saying you have permission to kill if they resist. The mission is war against crime. He then peeps in through the door and he sees blood and on the ground as well as weapons. He says, what the heck? Was this a fight between humans? And look at all some guns, like they're literally just smashed into the wall. One of the guys says, come on, we gotta go back and report to HQ. But then Sergeant Fernando right behind him is a hand and it grabs him into the room. And we hear crackling, and just like that, Sergeant Fernando is dead. We then see the captain here as well and he disappears. And in this room, there's bro, the heads of the people are stuck on the ceiling and he has one in his hand and he says, more, give me more. And yeah, Nathaniel seems like a crazy doctor and this dude's definitely gonna be so OP. He then shoots his bullets, but it seems like it doesn't do anything. And just like that, the strongest military police force in the world were all wiped out, as well as a gang, in a single day. She says it wasn't easy getting the documented reports from the scene. He says, I've got my doubts, but is it even possible to bend a gun with human strength? She says there's nothing but facts there, so everything is true. She says, how about let's go for a sneakier plan instead of full force? He says, no, it's fine. And she says, fine, all my wasted efforts are whatever, and that is okay. She then scratches her head saying, if it takes you dying and being 6 feet underground to listen, then you know what, so be it. He then says though, I need your help, you know this, right? She says, what are you planning now? We then see a little girl and she is pointing up. Our MC is looking at this poster and he says it isn't anything big. And on the billboard, it is, oh my gosh, Peter will be paying a visit to Nathaniel, as we see Nathaniel's photo before right here, and this is going to go crazy. Somebody says, are you going to be okay? And this is the driver of the lady. She says, yeah, don't worry. This is Peter. He's never failed in his 50 years of work. And that's actually a crazy stat. Everybody is gathered around the hospital and they're like, Peter really is alive. He hacked Glory's headquarters to put up a billboard. And there's actually a group of killers dispatched to capture Peter, and the description is mainly D-rank killers, and that's kind of not impressive. They're then discussing and they have guns and such, saying, how are we supposed to capture this high and mighty Peter? He says we're nothing but doormen. The ones to really take him down are over there, and these guys are famous killers in Brazil, and yo, it looks like some sort of bodybuilders, and the names of these people are the Undertakers of Rio. And yeah, these guys seem pretty cool, and they are also B-ranked killers. This guy says, haha, even Apostle Nathaniel is here. We're finally going to be able to witness a fight between two apostles, and yeah, our MC is gonna beat this dude up. This guy says, who do you think's gonna win? He says, obviously Nathaniel, dude. Peter is like 70 years old. I heard he even has cancer. They're then shocked as two people say Peter's going to win, sir. And yup, it is the Dako brothers. And they are a huge fan of Peter. Anyway, our MC is just observing them right here, and this is codenamed Peter Sung-gu Kim, and is known as previous apostle, but we all knew that. One of the killers from Brazil says, listen up, listen, if you run into Peter, you cannot initiate combat. You will pretend to show him respect, and because he is a powerful man that could take down an elephant in 3 seconds, and yo, that's actually pretty insane if you think about it. Furthermore, if you spot Peter, proceed to press any emergency button, and of course, A-rank killers will head to that location for backup. Our MC says crystal clear, and yeah, you guys are just exposing your plan to Peter, who is right here. He says this is going to be so fun because Peter has to capture Peter. Everybody launches off to their positions, and Sung-gu Kim is on the way, or technically Peter's coming, and yo, this guy's pretty much on a Smurf account. This is way too funny. We then see a boiling sort of jacuzzi right here, and I don't know why the water's red. Everybody's pretty much worried, because of course Glory is going to be in a worse state than before. Somebody mentioned, I was worried the moment they messed with Peter, because they wanted to trim the fat. And we see somebody's back here, and it has some sort of oni, Japanese oni on it, and they begin talking, like Yuncheng. You know Peter well, don't you? You know how gutsy he can be, but he doesn't say anything. One of the guy then says, don't take things any further, and just back things up, you got it? But the man in the middle, or towards the end, says, it appears I didn't think this through. I promised to act appropriately, and I'm nice to you old dudes for just a split second, but he just kills the guy in an instant, and look at this guy's physique. This guy's physique is kind of crazy, but hey, Peter's is way better. And just like that, he says, why do you have to walk all over me? Anyway, he explains, you think I'm just some sort of nobody just because you became the army chief of staff, and this guy has zero mercy. He then says, Peter, I'm waiting for you. It's going to be my masterpiece versus you, my father's masterpiece. Oh my gosh. We are back at the East Annex Infirmary, and we see our MC Peter holding this guy's neck as he cracks it. He then says, that feels amazing, and oh, it seems like our MC is disguising as a doctor. He then says, hey, do you know of Hyun Ilma? And the man mentions, I've never heard of that name. He begins to walk in the hallways, and he then says to himself that he really needs to find Nathaniel. He wonders, did he just really completely abandon his whole identity? He says one thing that I'm sure of is that the Apostle Nathaniel is going to be somewhere here. And he looks down from the 3rd floor, and dang, this is a lot of people. This is a battle of speed, but something catches his eyes. Oh my gosh, we then see the Dako brothers, and of course our MC is like, wait, why do you have broken arms but you're on a wheelchair? But then of course Junior has broken legs but he's standing up. He says, don't worry about that. Also, Yuna doesn't need to join this mission. She's ranked 335. But wait, our MC is ranked 336. They then look at the floor saying, you were just dilly-dallying around, but we've already scoped this entire lobby. They then say, stop, wait. And of course, there's a man wearing the same flannel shirt as Peter, and he says, wait, he looks just like this picture. Of course, he then says, Mister, hey Mister, are you Peter? And oh, really bro, this is way too funny. They're then continuing to harass this guy, wondering if he needs a syringe, and yeah, I don't know what the Dako brothers are here for. Nonetheless, our MC is then approached by a woman, wondering if this dude was dragged away. He says, I'm sure they already did his blood work, and oh my gosh, it has begun. It's finally the hunt for Peter, and everybody is asking all these elderly citizens if they know an elder like Peter. Bro, the Dark Girl brothers are such a W. They think that this is actually Peter. As they mentioned, we need to get you out of here. And they really do support these people. Yuna actually butts into Biggie, and he says, there's no way you're allowed here. He says, actually, my younger brother is here, and I gotta go, as she leaves them all behind, including our MC. He really does wonder what she's doing here, and it seems to be something hidden. Our MC seems to have some sort of camera on his glasses, and of course, this woman is watching, and she really got a Versace set on, and yeah, she got the drip. She then asks if he already found Daniel. He says, I've found nothing, because Nathaniel and him are both looking for each other. And he says, I wonder, how can I get Nathaniel to come out as me being undercover? And he sees one of the Brazilian killers from before. This man's name is Rodrigo, and he is a B rank estimated, and his only hobby is killing. Come on bro, that sucks. Our MC then acts kind of clueless and naive, saying, I'm Sung-gu Kim, a rank D for glory. I'm going to pass by. He says, I'm going to have to take this bait in order to find Nathaniel. He just says, you know what, fine, as she adjusts her glasses. Looks like my guys are going to get a good warm-up way through this. We see somebody washing his hands, and this seems to be a doctor. And of course he says, who are you? It is obviously our MC. He says, I am in charge of today's surgery. This guy says, oh, you're that dude from earlier. Go out and find Peter, bro. Stop messing around. He says, I'm actually looking for Apostle Nathaniel. Where is he? The Brazilian man, Rodrigo, says, how dare you say his name out loud? He says, honestly, I didn't really expect an answer. However, the only reason you would know why a killer would ask somebody's whereabouts is, of course, to kill them, and our MC dashes towards him, and Rodrigo says, perfect timing. I was getting bored. Somebody is rushing at the bottom and he's holding onto a tablet. He says, Dr. Nathaniel, look at this. Dano says, what is this? And he shows him a video of course, the security footage. And oh my gosh, Nathaniel begins to grin as he sees Rodrigo fighting the surgeon or the fake surgeon, and he's getting beat up. This all happened in a couple seconds, 5 seconds, and eventually maybe 8 or 9 or 10 seconds. He then says 10 seconds was all it took. It took a Pierce person a mere 10 seconds to take out a B-rank killer, and he zooms in. He takes off his mask and his covering, and it is Peter, and oh my gosh. Wait, this dude is literally wearing some kind of cringy Crocs. As the assistant says, the security team has been trying to confirm his route of movement. We don't have the technology to stop what he's doing, so please spare me, doctor. We then see Sang-do look super excited, and what the heck, his body is literally in this glass case, and what is this doctor doing? He's probably experimenting. He then says, we've been all waiting for your arrival, and there are a bunch of body in these tubes. He says that he left a VIP spot open just for you, and it's the one all the way in the center, and he wants to strip him down, and hold up, that is kind of sus. Nonetheless, we see that the reason why Peter's face actually showed up was because Mr. Kim, the lady's assistant, actually changed the look of it, of what showed up on the footage. The lady says, I can't wait to see that guy's face. He must be shocked, as her MC tosses away his disguise, and he says now it's time to wait and ambush the hunter. We then see Yuna, and it is a pretty beautiful afternoon, and she is just eating while she's scrolling through her messages. She says there's only one person that refers to himself as a doctor, and that is Nathaniel. She wonders why the doctor wants to meet with her, and she wonders if that dude has actually caught on because of the incident with Octo-Man. She then says it's best that I don't run into anybody while I'm here, but our MC's hand is on her shoulder, and she's like, what, Sungu, what are you doing? She then says, I gotta go eat lunch with my mom. Catch you later. But wait, bro, she doesn't even got a mom. What's she saying? He then says, I am ranked D killer Sungu Kim. And she says, what? Go eat by yourself, dude. It seems like he has 2 big orders of fried chicken, and well, she agrees for them to talk. She then says, are you meeting up with somebody here? And she says, wait a second, that's not the problem. If we are seen together, this could be in danger, as he offers her one of the fried chicken, and right now I'm definitely craving for some fried chicken and some rice and gravy, bro. She's holding the fried chicken, saying, I'm not going to eat with you. Please go away. She then, of course, says 1 piece, and they're just eating here chilling. He then says, I thought you were going to eat 1 piece, and guys, like 12 pieces get consumed in an instant. She then really asks him, why are you actually here? I know it's hard to trust me, but trust me, I know you've got some sort of relation to that old man. As you see Peter when he was older back then, and look at him, he looks so innocent, just like a grandfather. She then says, that old man got shot trying to protect me, and that old man is dead. Our MC just ignores it and says, I'm actually looking for somebody. And of course, I'm looking for an Apostle Nathaniel, as he shows her an image of Hyol Il-na. That is his real name. He says, I know Nathaniel wants to meet with you, and he says, this is the person. She says, actually, that's not Nathaniel. We then hear Yuna Lee. Some people then begin to walk, and we see the same Crocs from earlier. She then begins to get nervous, and her MC just looks at him like, finally, he showed himself. And this is Apostle Nathaniel, and this guy kind of looks like French or something, and this guy looks pretty huge. They don't know what his hospital specialty is, but his rank is of course Apostle, and he says, well, Yuna, are you gonna get up? And yeah, bro, it's time for the fight to go down, and I'm super hyped to where this is going to go. He then finds some interest at our MC, and he wonders who this is. Our MC then gets up, and he says, hello, doctor. I'm a D-rank killer Sungu Kim. I've been dispatched for this mission. He then says, I will do my best to ensure that Peter is taken care of, and Nathaniel looks kind of sickened that he's shaking his hand. He then looks at him with a blank face, and he says, whatever, Yuna, come to my office right now. Once we've done our rounds, which is pretty much going around the hospital, I'll send somebody to escort you, and they then walk away, going towards the courtyard. He then says it's clear that the guy is not ordinary, as his hand is literally twitching from shaking his hand from earlier. One of the guy then says, there's no need for you to worry about the young man who caught Sang-do Park. The doctor says, no, give me the profile I asked for. He goes to catch it, but it falls on the escalator, wondering why the heck that happened. And it seems like he remembers a handshake from earlier, and his hands are twitching as well. He says a D-ranked killer? What the heck? He asks for the young name, and he says it was Sun-gu Kim or something. He then says as he looks at his hands, and this kind of reminds me like of Hisoka, he says, I'm thinking of keeping him close to me. He would be a great sample, and oh my gosh, please don't do anything weird. Our MC is on the phone while he is playing against the kids, admitted into the hospital. We hear, you should be trying to finish this mission. Now you're offering a spot in his entourage, and this is pretty much talking about Nathaniel's group. She then squeezes her juice, and the look of the dog, he's ready to drink it. She says, and your reason is that it will be fun? What are you thinking, old man? He says Nathaniel's entourage. I have no idea what his team does, but I guess I'll have to find out. It seems like the girl actually won, but obviously our MC was going easy on her. And we even see a baby standing on top of a stool, and yeah, this is just way too funny. He is handed a key card, and this can let him enter any room in the hospital. He says, good job, D-Rank. The doctor never really adds people to his entourage. He says there's some things that you need to do. Don't speak unless he asks something, and never doubt his actions, and never reject an act of kindness. And our MC's wondering what exactly that means. He says, why is this guy getting nervous when he talks about it? And he says, come on, let's get going. We see our MC has now arrived with the old man, and he says, you're here. Let's begin our rounds. And it seems like the dude, his entourage, are a bunch of very skilled fighters. And wow, these are the Undertakers of Rio, and they're pretty much comprised of A to B ranked killers. He says this won't be easy, because all these dudes are not associated with glory, and there's no reason to show loyalty at all. And they're doing their rounds here, and he mentions they serve nobody but Nathaniel, and so it's going to be hard to get to them. He then says, what about Peter? He says, we've done everything already. We've already sealed the entrances off as well. And for the DNA samples, the analysis should take about 48 hours. And there's no way Peter could have left, as he gets a flashback to that image from the CCTV. He says he can hide everything and change his appearance, but he cannot hide his DNA. And now he's basically cornered. And the guy just smiles, saying, thanks for that briefing. Or yeah, it's not actually Nathaniel, it's her MC, with a look of absolute confidence in his eyes, saying, it won't be easy to take this dude down. We see they are doing rounds, and Nathaniel's acting kind, saying, come on, if you don't go through this, we won't be able to play soccer. And the kid is super happy that he'll be able to play soccer after the procedure. He then tells the nurse, listen, alright, although the surgery is going to be too hard on the body, let's focus on the radial nerve. And it seems like this guy actually is smart. He's then looking at his watch, mentioning that they've been doing meaningless rounds this entire time. As he then asks our MC, you're disappointed. Yeah, and that's the case for a lot of people because they don't get to see the apostle side of him. Nonetheless, they then begin to walk down the stairs, and they're headed towards this unknown location even in the blueprints of the map. He wonders what lies ahead beneath these stairs, and he really hopes that Nathaniel is going to show him his master plan. They use a key card, and our MC gets absolutely infuriated because this is where the lots of bodies are literally being preserved. And he says, this is where my dreams come true. And he then asks our MC if he's interested in biology as he goes to one of the bodies. He says, I know the basics, yeah. He explains all of the beings actually evolved through natural selection. But Nathaniel says that's actually wrong. Evolution is not decided by anything. It's decided as me, as he literally sticks his tongue out, and yeah, this guy's getting creepier by the second. We find out that he eliminates weakness and he preserves strength to foster it. And he then says, I've had my eyes on you, son. But then, code red. All researchers within the ward, please lock your doors, because a test specimen has run out. And look at this dude, it has the same markings as Sangdo Park had. He was struck with some tranquilizer gun thingies, but he's still running away. And oh my gosh, he's getting shot even more. He then wrecks those two guards, and oh, this guy is pretty freaking strong. He just wrecked those two in an instant. He looks at the exit saying, it's almost here. I need to hurry. I need to get above ground. There was one more second. But then something happens, the wall to his right shatters as Nathaniel grabs his head. Did this guy just smash his entire hand just through a wall and grab him? How is this guy's aim this good? He says, we're in the middle of an important conversation here. Don't interrupt me. And he literally just cracks his face right there in his skull. And then he smiles towards our MC saying, apologies, let's get back to business. And yeah, this dude really is creepy. He says he took the muscle and tendon and cell of a lot of powerful individuals with his two hands, and there's one man that he wants to surpass in strength. He says, Sun-gu, I saw potential in you. It's not common to see somebody with your type of power. He says you could become so much stronger through evolving. He then extends his hand, and of course his glove is filled with blood, saying, accept this act of kindness. I could make you an A rank. And he says, I can make you as strong as an apostle. Our MC is walking around the hospital now saying, "That was actually crazy. I didn't know he could sense the presence of somebody beyond that wall, and he found the exact timing to smash through and crush his skull, and that was a bar." The lady then says, "Are you going to give up and run away?" He says, "Absolutely not, because now I want to know the source of his power." She then asks what his plan for the blood is, and he says, "It's only a matter of time before I get exposed, and so don't worry, there's something I can do." She wonders what it is, and even the dog's a bit worried. He says, "I'm going to switch the results, so the results should be in his room by now." The way he's going to do it is with this key card, and of course she says, "Wait, you're gonna get caught." He's finally at the doctor's office, and he explains that it is 2:53. He was following along and looking at the time of the rounds, and so at this point he has around 4 minutes and 30 seconds to switch the locations and switch the files. He says that the doctor should be taking care of that kid once more and giving the nurse instructions. The man informs them that the results of the elderly blood samples should be ready now, and it seems like there weren't any that matched with Peter's. And so he says, "None of them are a match to Peter's DNA, huh? That can't be it. What if Peter doesn't look the way we remember him?" And oh my gosh, he is right behind our MC, and our MC is spooked. Of course, Nathaniel says, "A mere D-rank killer barges into a stranger's personal office, an apostle's office. What could you be doing here?" As our MC turns his head. He explains for the past 2 days, Nathaniel has followed the exact same path. And he then says, as his eyes turn red, kind of like Peter or our MC, "You owe me an explanation." And he wonders if all of this was on purpose, to see if our boy Peter was related to Peter or Songdo was related to Peter. He then says, "Did he really suspect me from the get-go?" Our MC explains, "It's because I wanted to give this to you, doctor." He then reaches something out, and he mentions that Dr. Hong wanted me to hand this over to you ASAP. He's about to leave, but he then says as he clenches his shoulders, "You've already went through these documents, Sun Gu. Why were you curious about the sample results of the elderly patients?" He then says, "What could pique your interest?" He explains there's only one thing that can mean. "Sun Gu, you must be..." He says, "Doctor, you can hide your identity through words, actions, and appearance, but the one thing you can't change is your DNA." He says, "We haven't found Peter, so I figured that Peter is somewhere here with a completely different face." He then says, "That's what I was thinking," and he looks at his iPhone, and he's like, I see." He says, "Maybe we can look again." But then something happens and he just bows down saying, "I'm really sorry, doctor, because if he goes any further, he's going to suspect him more." Nathaniel says, "Yeah, that's enough. Sun Gu, you had something on your face. I'm glad you're taking this mission seriously, but please leave now." He then says, "Thank you, doctor," as he looks at his hand, and he mentions that our MC's face is real skin, and so obviously it can't be Peter because, you can't put on real skin. He looks at his tablet mentioning that Peter cannot be Sun Gu, and he cracks it because he says, "Peter, where the heck are you hiding?" And yeah, Peter really is a goat of hiding because he's literally right in front of your face. We are introduced to the slasher or Carter Forgeman, and he is the king of Mexico's underground arena. He is then, of course, super strong with his leg kick as he literally makes this guy's skull look like jello, and he defeated so many people in the octagon. And yeah, look at this guy's quads and calves. These things are bulging. Nathaniel walks into the ring saying, "Is it safe for me to assume that the rumors are true?" He says, "Who the heck is this Asian guy? Is he trying to die as well?" And Nathaniel just, he punches his leg and he tears it off as he lifts it up in the sky. You meet somebody here and this is the strongest fist in the world, and he then collides with it, and he goes to the strongest gang in the world, and that's why all those people's heads were in the ceilings. He then grabs a hold of somebody's neck, and the guy says, "You're never going to be the best, because Peter is the best." He then says, "What the heck is this with this Peter crap?" He mentions everybody I've killed up until now always yap about this wretched Peter. Who on earth could this be? The guy is dead now and obviously he can't get an answer. He then goes to begin crazy and absolutely gnarly, saying, "Why am I the only one who hasn't met Peter?" And yeah bro, Peter is going to destroy everyone. In the Glory Club, of course. Anyway, he explains, "Peter, I'm sure the last person you saw will know." And he then tells Dr. O, "Bring me our little friend," and he's talking about Yuna, as you see her literally chilling with the Dako brothers, and they're like, "How did rank 335 join?" And bro, these guys are literally ranked 334 and 333, that is way too funny. Yuna says, "They'll never get it, huh?" Somebody then says, "Yuna, the doctor would like to see you," and it's this big buff dude, and the Dako brothers just back away, and yeah, these guys are way too funny. They realize, like, wait a second, is that Santos of the Undertakers? He's an A rank. And they're like, what the heck, Yuna? And Yuna seems kind of nervous to meet Nathaniel. She is sitting across of Nathaniel as he says, I'm sure it was a first for you. Even when fellow apostles encounter each other, there's no guarantee they'll be alive. And so he says, come on, let's chalk it up to Peter, just acting on a whim. I need you to explain. You're not particularly proficient in anything else but how to use a knife, so tell me, as a D rank killer, was this merely a coincidence that you survived? And he literally goes so close to the table, and yeah, he looks so creepy here, and his little hands just make it even creepier. He says, out of all the apostles, including myself, there is a hypothesis that you received help from Peter, or you guys may have had a deal. He says, as an orphan, what part of you is so valuable that Peter would like? Could it be that you're actually a spy? And he says, you know what? No matter. I've got just the thing. You cannot let your brother die here, right? Oh no, this is blackmailing. He explains that little Eugen has been suffering from hemophilia for a while now, and so he needs something that can save him, and he has just exactly that. There is a life-saving serum that's worth 4.5 billion won, which is $4 million, and he then says, please think carefully whose side you should be on, and look at her right now, she definitely wants to save Eugen. He explains on the 24th, Peter then announced that he would come find me, and you have free reign to feed him any information at all. However, there's one condition. Please tell him that on the 24th at 2 o'clock to meet at the lobby's clock tower. He explains, you get to save your brother and I get my hands on Peter. It's pretty much a win-win. He then cracks her arm just like that, like it was so easy, and he then says, at my hospital, you do know that we only let actually injured patients in, and so he looks down on her like you're going to be thrilled to find out who gets the next prescription. And yeah, this dude is way too cruel, as we see Yuna stuttering, or not stuttering, shivering. We are now in room 604 and she is one of the patients. She says if Nathaniel finds out that it's been Sungu who helped her this entire time, that means Sungu is dead as well as Eugen. And she wonders what the right choice is. RMC comes in saying, hey, it's time for your shot. She says, what the heck are you doing? He says, don't worry, I needed to tune in to this national singing contest. And she then just hits her head like, bruh, is this guy kidding? She then tries to wave him off and away. And he says, wait a second, your arm. I don't remember doing this, so who did it? And it seems like she tells him, Sungu, what are you doing on the 24th? I have something very important to tell you, so just come to the clock tower at 2 o'clock. He says the one at the hospital lobby. She says, you know what, enough with the questions, just do as I say. It seems like he isn't going to do anything. She says, please come. He says, alright, but our MC obviously knows that something is up. She then, of course, is looking out at the rainy night, hoping that Eugen would tell her to do the right thing and that this is the right thing to do. She says, this is all I can truly do, and our MC hears this as he is outside. We are now looking at the hospital from outside, and Nathaniel is looking down, waiting, because he says, you're finally supposed to come find me, right? Because Peter will be paying a visit to Nathaniel, and that was what was on the billboard. He says, I can't wait to meet you, Peter. And we see Yuna by the clock tower, and of course, Nathaniel asks her, where is he now? She said he should be coming as we speak, as her MC is walking, and the clock ticks, and it's about to hit 12, and it is finally, or not 12, but 2 p.m. And we hear, hurry, Peter, please. We see a blanket of bears here as somebody says, I'm telling you, he's just a friend. Look, he's the tallest. I want to play soccer with these guys. We see a golden soccer ball right here, and it is obviously belonging to Aoife because, you know, copyright. We see a kid strapped onto so many things here, and we see a basketball as well as a soccer ball above his pillow. And this is Eugen. Oh no, this is such a horrible condition. He says, just wait. It's because plane tickets are so expensive. We hear, you're just a kid, don't worry about money. I've got it all figured out. And he is on the phone with her girl Yuna, and she says just one drop of that and it'll be like you were never sick. She's talking about the serum Nathaniel made. Anyways, she is then crying in absolute agony as she holds on to her arm and she quivers. She really says she has no choice. This was what I had to do. Yuna is expecting Peter to be coming as we speak, and he is walking. And she says, please, I hope you better keep your promise. We then see it finally hits 2 and Nathaniel is waiting, grinning, but then that grin instantly turns into like a bruh moment, like a blank face. He says, wait, Yuna, well, why the heck isn't Peter here? And the entire lobby is literally empty. She then wonders what's going on with Sungu. She wonders if he forgot her promise. But her MC is at the oh my, he's at the clock tower outside. And of course, this is way too funny. And we find out in the flashback that she actually told him to meet her by the one at the park, so she actually saved him. She says if you go anywhere else, then you will be dead meat, and it seems like she did the right thing. He's looking at his Apple Watch, and Yuna is right here looking at the people eyeing her down, saying if Nathaniel finds out it was Sung-gu and not Peter that killed Octoman, obviously Sung-gu's gonna die here. And every reception window all over the lobby right now is looking at our Yuna waiting for Peter. She says Sung-gu may be strong, but this is way too dangerous. She gets flashback of her MC eating at the restaurant of Octoman, also a flashback of her MC walking away from the podium, and even when she cornered him into a brick wall, and she says you were the first person to show me the joy of sharing a meal with somebody. And we see them going back and forth, and what beautiful memories these two have made. She says, but you were the first person to truly care and help me find what my strengths are, so there's no way I could betray you after that. We then see Nathaniel about to crash out, saying, what the heck is going on here? She then grabs onto her skirt, and she says he hasn't even contacted me since that day. That's the truth, I'm sorry. And of course, look at this guy's eyes are starting to burn up red. She says, I'll do anything. I can clean the hospital. I'm even working to work hard on my training. I'll be the best one you ever had. And she cries out, please, please don't hurt my brother. He then says, Yuna, in the end you weren't able to bring me Peter, and that really is a shame, because you'll have to die now. As he cracks the railing he is holding onto. We then see people begin to gather around her. Oh my gosh. He says, I could have sworn I warned you who would be next if you failed. Bring him to me. We then see a fire has been reported in the building, and everybody is told to evacuate. They then wonder, hey, Biggie, what's the problem? And this is obviously the Dako brothers. They say, screw the cast, let's just get out of here. We then see him look back, and oh my gosh, all of the emergency exits are blocked with these steel doors, and they're like, what is the sound? Everybody is gathered in the center here, and Nathaniel wonders if there's a fire. He says, I don't actually smell a fire. We need to look into this. And Yuna says, that came out of nowhere. That was perfect timing, right? And our MC steps inside, saying, you've got me by your side. Don't worry. She wonders what he is doing here. He says, I made a promise to meet you at the clock tower. And yup, our MC is going to wreck everybody. We hear anyone who hasn't run away by now must not be actual medical staff or patients, and you are actually all killers out to kill me. And look at this, guys, from the bottom to the top floor, they are filled with people just looking at our MC. Yuna is obvious like, what are you doing, with tears on her eyes? And Nathaniel says, are you here to save Yuna, Sung-gu? He says, I knew that there was something different about you. However, do you think you can take on the Undertakers of Rio? And yeah, our MC definitely can. We are at the Cidade de Funerario, and this is actually the city of funerals in Brazil. It is a really poor city, and the average lifespan of a child is just 16. Wow, that's so low. And so we see a man trying to protect his son as there are guns pointed towards him, and these are teenagers saying, come on, it'd be more fun to get money and use our guns. Boom, boom, boom. They suddenly are all shot, and most die before even reaching 10 years old. We see a crater right here, and it is filled with bodies, and there were constantly new corpses in the area. That's why it was called the City of Funerals. Somebody then kicks another body, and all of them are stripped naked. Kidnapping, prostitution, drugs, and all these stuff were things that happened in the city, and they were the most powerful gang in Brazil. And they're talking about the Undertakers in Rio. And then of course Nathaniel says, 100 of the strongest members of the gang are here now. You can take them all by yourself? Really? Can you? He then says with a smile, Sung-gu, I see potential. You're like a tiger cub. If you allow yourself to grow under my care, you'll be so strong. But right now, you can't beat the adult beasts, as we see an image of that tiger or that lion getting eaten by some hyenas, and this just turned into the Lion King. Nonetheless, Nathaniel looks with some sort of earnest, saying, come and join me, and I'll raise you right. But our MC just shrugs his, oh my gosh, he shrugs his shoulders like, huh? I don't care, bro. He says, fine, fine, you've made your choice. These people jump off from the second floor. This guy is Sao Paulo, and this guy is Raffaello, and they yell, come you D-rank. But in a split second, our MC just cuts them just like that, and they fall to the ground. And everybody is shocked, including Yuna. Nathaniel says he hit every vital point. That is interesting. Our MC was using a pen that he got from Mr. Yon Chang, and he then asks Nathaniel, Do you see me as a little tiger cub? And oh my gosh, he puts back the lid as there is blood that splurts out, and our MC is about to give this dude the show of a lifetime. Nathaniel says, do you know how long it takes for somebody to die? He says 1 minute and 12 seconds if you cut an artery, 40 seconds if you cut a vein, 12 seconds if you cut the carotid. And he says, let's say it takes about a minute to kill somebody. You have 100 players to go against. So Sun Gu, as we see all these dudes charge at Sun Gu, our MC, will you be able to survive for 100 minutes? Everybody says, this country was way too peaceful. I've been dying for this moment. And yeah, you quite literally are going to die. Our MC still has his glasses as he punches one right in the face like he's Mike Tyson or Manny Pacquiao. He then kicks somebody like he's some sort of martial artist, which technically he actually is because he's trained. And Yuna says, this is way too dangerous. They've now got him cornered. And these guys aren't even flinching when their comrade dies. And he says they aren't showing any signs of slowing down. They're then saying, we've all grew up together since we were born. But for us, we see death around us every day. Our MC dodges one of the attacks, and they say that this dude is quite swift, but dodging will take you nowhere. Our MC is now literally backed into a corner, and that kind of reminds me of me sometimes, but Nathaniel is still watching. Like it seems like you've run out of escape paths. And look at this is like a zombie apocalypse, bro. 1 versus 100 is crazy. He says, honestly, that makes it all the better. It seems like he turns on something, and it is water as he pushes all of them away. They then begin to slip and slide like it is a water park, and it seems like the water is now gone. He then says you can't actually kill somebody with a fire hose. That's what Nathaniel says. But then our MC gets the defibrillator and he puts it to the ground, and a lot of people die in one go. And yeah, that is absolutely cruel. Nathaniel says that is impressive. He says he followed by using up the defibrillator. This guy is way too smart. He says you've taken out half of them. He says you've got around an hour left. And an MC just says you thought it was going to take me 2 hours to take care of these guys. He said I have the perfect thing. He then begins to write down on a piece of paper or on a notepad. He then drops it to the ground, and it seems like he marks a spot on the human body. And he says, you know, you call yourselves a hospital personnel, and a stab in the carotid artery results in excessive bleeding, and so that is going to be the death of all of these patients that are going to the autopsy. They then begin to mention this guy, he's way too strong, and he stabs all of their carotid arteries just like that, and these guys are dropping like flies. Bro, he has done like at least 50 dudes, and the panels just keep going. He's jumping in the air like some sort of ballerina in the sky or a fairy. We then see they gang up on him, but he just pushes them all off like that, and Yuna is watching in amazement. She says that she recalled a lot of stories about the strongest in the world. It is a legend, and everybody would constantly talk about him. And this legend was just a regular old man, and that dude was nothing but a tenacious fighter. She then realized that you couldn't believe all the rumors are heard because he died, but she says, what if the rumors are true? And this is what Peter is like, as her MC is stepping on one's face with, of course, his pen in his hand. As Yuna wonders if this is what other people witnessed. Nathaniel says, wow, I knew I was right in choosing you. It took you 13 minutes to take down 100 men, and that's absolutely crazy. He says, wait, I'm not done yet. You're still alive, aren't you? So pick your poison. You come to me, or I come to you. But just at that second, Nathaniel drops to the ground, and the entire ground beneath him shatters into these squares, and that's how you know things are getting serious. He says, I assume you know what my answer is, and look at Nathaniel right here. He's ready to beat our MC up, but trust me, that's not gonna happen, bro. He says, Sun Gu, I'm so curious. How are you able to perform such incredible moves at such a young age? It's strange that you are a D rank indeed, and he seems a bit normal now. He wonders if he's from abroad, but still. Our MC just says, listen, Dr. Nathaniel, do you want to know a fun fact as he rustles through his hair? They say the people who are the least confident have the most to say, and Nathaniel's been yapping. He then jumps for our MC saying, you've been filled with arrogance, it's time to humble you. Our MC takes a blow, but he is then launched up into the air, and just by the hit, that's absolutely crazy. Our MC slides, and it seems like he is actually still fine. He says, how the heck is Nathaniel so strong? And look at his body right now is exuding this sort of poisonous feminist aura, and he wonders if he is a human. Our MC takes blow after blow, and of course Yuna says as she's watching, no, Sun Gu is actually going to lose. She tells Sun Gu to run away, and it seems like Nathaniel begins to use the corpse that he killed to be a shield for him, and this definitely reminds me of Ahsoka versus Krollo. Anyway, he says, you know that being tired is not an excuse, Sun Gu, so I could not care Nevertheless, if you are tired, he then tosses our MC and he hits the door just like that, or the elevator, and it is shattered. He then goes to knee our MC. She says, no, he is way too strong. They're then going to fall down, and yep, they're in the elevator right now. Our MC is just looking at him, holding on to the railing in the elevator. He then gets punched multiple times in the face. Kapow, 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 kapow. And we see so much, bro. It literally begins to start sparking in there from the friction of his hits. And yep, the electrical circuit at the back of this is going to blow. And that's exactly what happens. The elevator begins to free fall and it crashes to the ground. And we see all of these hit marks. And Yuna yells out for Sung-gu, saying that she definitely needs to find a way into there. They arrive at a secret lair. And he says, I'm so curious about you, Sung-gu. Why did you show up? I was supposed to meet with Peter. What's your relation with him? He says, don't tell me you're already dead, as he's sitting down here, and our MC's probably just chilling, bro, relax. He says, everybody who fights me ends up like this. I give it my all when I fight. And he says, but I find it a bit annoying that you don't even have a single wound on your face. What the heck? We then get a flashback to when he hit our MC, but every time he was managed to dodge every hit or evade it. Like, look at this, our MC really is a master. He then dusts off the clothes, and there might not even be any dust on that because he's so good, saying, I shouldn't even be doing this. I fell asleep for a second, and Nathaniel goes absolutely bat crazy. And of course, our MC says, you bored me back there, and that's one way to piss off an apostle. He says, come at me then, bro, as he flicks his hands like he's Bruce Lee, and that's exactly what Nathaniel does, and this time, Nathaniel's going to be for real. Their fists then meet with each other, and of course the lady's watching with Alexander as well as the dude, the captain or a driver, saying, that's right, Sung-gu is falling behind, aren't you worried? She says, worried? Don't worry. I was also told something really interesting about this man. We get a flashback to a lot of kids or orphans training, and the man then wonders the coach, what is a source of power? Some say it's your calmness, some say it's your weapon usage, and we see young Peter here. He looks absolutely heartbroken, absolutely cold. He says those are good answers. So, kindly crack this boulder. He says that's how you're going to be passing. They say, what do you mean? This is absolutely impossible. But our MC begins to wrap his hands in these sort of bandages that he found, and he begins to chop it, karate chop it like it's some sort of brick. And we then see it reaches afternoon and even late night, and he's just chopping at this continuously. These guys say this guy didn't show up for a whole month, and he said he was going to train. But what is this? He couldn't break it in the end. But then one of the girls says, wait, look over there. He says, no way. This is a new rock. And in the valley are a bunch of rocks that have been cracked. What in the world? And that's why our MC is able to match his fist. Nathaniel explains that the strongest fist in the world, the strongman, has a physical strength to hold 1,155 pounds, and he couldn't even go up against Nathaniel. But it seems like our MC is doing absolutely that, and Nathaniel wonders if he's a human, and yeah, what a turn of events. Our MC says, have you ever been hit by a car? And Nathaniel wonders what he's going on about. He explains, my hands are going to hit more than a measly car, as he chops his neck and Nathaniel gets sent flying. Our MC dashes, wasting no time like he is a ninja from Naruto. Nathaniel is getting manhandled here, absolutely wrecked like it's some sort of Dragon Ball game, and he wonders, what am I even getting hit by right now? Is it his fist, his legs, or what is this? Our MC's hand glows up, and he goes for one huge attack on Nathaniel. Nathaniel then crashes into one of the vials, as the captain then says, Sung-gu won, let's go. There's no way that of course that man could survive. But then Nathaniel then gets up, and of course we see that our MC's hands are a mess, and it is literally bruised and a bit of bleeding. Nathaniel's so jacked right here, and he seems like his robe is off. He's about to take off his shirts and stuff. He says, you're going to be the first to see how humans evolve. He takes off his shirt here, and our MC is like, what has this guy done to his body? It's literally all muscle. There's no skin. What the heck is this? This is the legacy of my evolution, and I think that this guy has gone insane. He then sweats like he is Ahsoka when he gets caught in 4K with Gon, and he pretty much says, do you know what anti-fragility is? He explains, if you cannot kill me, as he stands across him, that means the pain that you inflict on me only makes me stronger. And so this is what he did as he stabs his muscles and stuff, and he pretty much developed a revolutionary drug that minimizes recovery time. He says the more pain, the stronger I get. He then goes at our MC in a split second, literally 0.005. He grabs our MC by a throat. He says, just one misstep and I'm dead. And the chances of him beating him, of course, he says, is basically zero. He then tosses our MC to the ground, and it seems like it did a lot of damage. We see smoke coming up and emerging. He says, up until now, no one has survived that move. but I congratulate you because it seems like our MC managed to slip away at the last moment. He then looks and really ponders with his eyes here deeply. That isn't possible. I could have sworn I grabbed him by the neck. That means he was able to create a window with his hands to escape. He then explains that within that 0.005 seconds, no ordinary human has those reflexes, and our MC says, I was barely able to escape. He only grabbed me for a moment, but look, his grip is literally imprinted onto the back of his hand and he is shaking. He says one thing's for sure, his strength is otherworldly. And pretty much if he gets caught by those hands that he is dead meat, and I wonder if our bro is going to compete for the Mr. Olympia because he's looking absolutely lean. We see that this is actually Sun Goo's chart. The abilities that have displayed are clearly that of an A-rank killer, but even more than A-rank actually. He then says, actually, you won't be able to defeat me, and obviously this guy is just coping. He then says as he points to the ground, beg me like a dog. Beg me to spare your life, come on. He says I'll turn you into a true piece of art. But our MC, like a typical protagonist, says nothing. He raises his hand. And the old man captain as well as the blind girl then say, if he gets caught surrendering, what are we going to do? He then begins to move his hands and such, and Nathaniel says, what the heck is this guy doing? We get an image of a woman slapping somebody's butt, and she says this is the only way to fix a child. He says I'm going to spank you, and what our MC really is tweaking. Nathaniel then bites his lip going crazy. He says you really know how to excite me, and he says that's the right attitude as he leaps from the ground, and we see the rubble literally, oh my, they both leap at each other like it's the final Mortal Kombat attack, and they're going crazy at the test tubes, breaking everything. Our MC punches his body. He also kicks him in the head. He is getting destroyed here as you see his muscles begin to get really punched inside of himself, and the blind lady says, what's going on? I can't even see anything here either. This definitely is not a fight between humans, and yeah, I could barely keep up if it wasn't, of course, not moving. We see Nathaniel just look though as this is happening saying, Sun Goo, you are way too powerful. You are way too strong. But my body is continuing to evolve as we fight, and that's the only thing that is true. They then begin to exchange punches, and he says, how much stronger can I get because of you? And how much sturdier can I get? He says, there is still one more thing I am curious about though. What the heck? I can't feel like you're hiding something behind the data on your chart. As you see it right here, his stats all seem like an A rank of some sorts. But Nathaniel says, what's giving you this exact confidence to, of course, keep going? He says for a single moment, he hasn't seen the slightest hint of course, wavering in his eyes or fear. And he then says crazily, and his eyes are about to go rampant, that must mean only one thing. I've come to a decision. You can beg all you want, but it won't matter now. I'm going to rip you and extract you and get every single cell in your body from the bones and figure out how exactly you are keeping up with me. He is about to punch your MC in the face, and he says no, this old man, he's going to kill Sun Goo. And of course the lady yells no, and probably the dog said no as well. But then it seems like he missed for a second, and our MC says, so your muscles are shocked and they tear, and you said the reason you're strong is because you found out a way to heal those muscles. But this whole time I've been waiting. He has actually reached a new peak, and because his muscles have been growing, it suppresses the bones and nerves in his body, and he is completely immobile. And yo, this guy just got caught lacking. Nathaniel says, I was so hyped up by the fight that my body didn't even tell me it was hardening. And so of course this is the side effects of his evolutionary growth. Our MC says, Nathaniel, you lose. And he lets out a roar because he can't accept this. He says, I've taken countless of lives to harness his strength, and yeah, this guy really is brutal, bro. He says he even hurt himself and such because he wanted to be the perfect human. But he gets a flashback to her MC smiling and greeting him like an ordinary, killer, or I guess ordinary dude. He says, you're telling me this dude killed me? He says, I didn't think I'd have to go this far. He then takes something off from his Crocs, and it seems like this is actually a drug like LSD. Don't do drugs, kids and men. And of course, he says, this will turn me into the ultimate living organism. He begins to crunch, and his eyes turn red. He says this world will be completely destroyed. That goes for you as well. And blood begins to fall through his mouth. Something then triggers inside of him, but our MC is ready to take on this attack. He says, I have ignited my body, and I have reached my final form, the highest level of power, my fists. And this kind of reminds me of, Saitama versus Garo, and obviously Nathaniel is Garo. They then exchange punches, but our MC manages to dodge this, and Nathaniel is like, how can he still read my movements? How the heck is this possible? It's like I'm fighting 1,000 hands. He says, I know something did not feel right from the get-go. He says that his strength could not be measured by that hexagonal rubric. And oh my gosh, look at our MC's thing, guys. His strength is literally way past that hexagon, and he knows that he could never surpass our MC. And oh my gosh, guys, the red thing isn't just a background, this is experience. And look how huge our MC's experience is. And look at Nathaniel, he's so small compared to it. This is absolutely crazy. He then says that was a wall. How could somebody as young as him have that much experience? He says the man at the top of the world, the man I've aspired to defeat my whole life, a level that was out of arm's reach, the man who reached a deity level type of power. And our MC's eyes are beginning to smoke here because he's going absolutely crazy. He says that was a level I could only dream. Could this be Peter? And oh my gosh, hopefully our MC reveals it before this guy passes away, or of course he takes him out for good. It is the year 2003 and people are beginning to take their oaths. And of course, this is for the medical university ceremony. People are saying their oaths and they also begin to gossip saying, this is impossible because oh my gosh, guys, the representative for the enrolling class is Hyun Il-na, which is Nathaniel, and he was 13 years old and he was admitted into the medical university. We're at the patient ward here and we see Nathaniel and he is sitting down on his, hospital bed as the other kids are enjoying playing with Santa. He then sees an image and it says, God loves all his children, which is absolutely true. He says, why was I born weak, however? He says there must be a reason why this is so. He then looks at the TV and there is actually a video about lobsters and how they evolved or adapted. He says this could be a way of telling me that I need to achieve something that ordinary humans cannot. He then lets out a crazy sinister smile. And guys, if I saw this in the dark, hopefully I don't hit this kid or something. It is 2012 and people are looking for somebody to heal this guy. He's actually a serial killer. And they say, a man like him is a true doctor. It is Nathaniel, of course, and he says it's so strange how people only think about their ethics when they're on the job. But for him, this is no different than any other surgery. But look at this guy. He literally looks like somebody straight out of the Bakiverse. This guy's ripped to the bone. He says, why is my heart pumping so fast though? And bro, please don't tell me your sauce. Just kidding, bro. He says it's because he's seeing a powerful body. He begins to sweat nervously as he says, I want to analyze every bit and piece of you. And he says, isn't that fine? Come on, that has to be fine. And he's really having these intrusive thoughts right now in his head. And merely a moment ago, he was suturing his organs. But just then, his entire brain was cut open, and that's why he fled to South America and he hid. And this is actually a pretty cool drawing of South America. Nonetheless, he then went there and used people for his research as we see thousands of bodies in this pit. He says he proved his hypothesis through research, and this is actually kind of crazy, guys. It's actually sad. He then took other people's stuff or organs. Like I said, he took this guy's leg as we see it here, and he didn't need the genetics of his mother and father since of course he was born kind of sickly, and this is absolutely crazy. He is then sent flying in the air, and he said, or so I thought I could be that strong. And yeah, you're getting wrecked by Peter the goat. He then crashes into one of the tubes. He says all the muscles in my body have been deflated, and yeah, this guy doesn't look as juiced up anymore. He says he can't even lift a finger. And Peter, or MC Sunggu, says, do not move. You'll only die quicker. Nathaniel then asks, I put 30 years into all of this. Oh dang, bro. He actually looks like a 25-year-old, but hey, I think he's around 40 or something. He says, I wanted to be stronger. What efforts have you put to become this strong, Sunggu? Please tell me. He says the reason you can't keep up with me, I've put also the same amount of effort as you for 65 years. And Nathaniel looks at him with glowing eyes saying 65 years. Our MC walks away and he remembers the head of Peter when he was older. And he says, I don't understand anything. And no, look how, I'm not going to lie, Nathaniel looks so cool. And he just says with his last moments and his last words, at least I got to meet you before I died. And wow, guys, what a beautiful story and what a beautiful way to end this character. We then see all of the Brazilian killers were dead and all the information of glory killers were deleted from the system, of course, and all that's left was something else, but we aren't going to be told because this is obviously a manhwa that likes putting us on cliffhangers. But anyway, we then see a beautiful van on here on the road, and it is of course the Dako brothers as well as Coach, and they then says, do you think you can get to C rank this easy? They say, come on, just give us a C rank promotion. They say, we're method acting as patients, come on. They then look back and it is Yuna and she's looking off to the horizon and she then says, sure, because of course they're pretty much saying that you were pretty brave. Anyway, our MC looks to the left and Yuna feels hopeless. She says everything worked out in the end, so she should be relieved. However, she wonders why she is not happy, and that's probably because her brother won't be getting that special treatment that Nathaniel offered her. He then says, our MC, by the way, Yuna, you must be thinking about your brother. And she says, I'm just thinking about how I didn't get to eat at school lunch for a long time. Anyway, she explains Nathaniel destroyed all the serums, and he then says that is true, but you know, Yuna, you might be able to find another way to save him. And she just says thanks, Sungu, for the encouraging words. It is now nighttime as we see they arrive back, and did this guy just drive on the track? Okay, anyway, they then hop out and they're super excited. They then salute to the coach, saying, Coach, we'll get home safe. And he then says, Yuna, go take your baggage. She says that isn't mine, and she wonders if the coach left it. He says maybe take a look, Yujin might like it. And of course he says, wait, how did you know his name? This is, and yup, this is the actual vials from Nathaniel that he developed for her brother. He says, I was surprised. Nathaniel didn't actually destroy him, and tears begin to flow down through her face, and she hugs onto it with her dear life. We are back at the Yongwang General Hospital, and this guy says, boss, by the way, all of the patients have been moved. And he says, I can't believe it. These were actually a fight between two people because there are literal like holes and craters on the ground. They wonder if it was Peter. He says, was it really Peter? And he says, oh, it was. The security cameras got a clear shot of him on the image right here. And yeah, Peter looks so cold even though he is old. And I just set a bar. Nonetheless, he explains he appeared and vanished like some sort of ghost. And this guy says, the two of them, a ghost? Did you just say ghost? This guy says, please, wait, no, don't. And oh my gosh, he falls to the ground stumbling and he gets sliced up in an instant. She says, Peter, a ghost? How dare you use that title? And she then says, you're not mad I killed one of your minions, are you, boss? He says, no, no, no. Don't worry. She then says he died before even getting officially trained as a new... Yo, he didn't even get trained, but he was that strong? She then says, Peter, huh? I'm going to teach him a lesson. And this is a sword ghost. And trust me, you're about to become a ghost after our MC just rips you apart. Nonetheless, we see a hairline. I don't know why I'm seeing this. And this is the coach. He says from this point on, you guys are all going to be in the volunteer service. The Dako brothers like, naruhodo, I see, we're already wanted again? Are we that famous? And of course our MC says nothing, and Yuna is like, can we just shut these guys' mouths up? And yeah, I can agree sometimes. He says though, go out and do your best. And we see a beautiful image here of some sort of fishing dock or port, and look at this really beautiful image. Nonetheless, the Docker brothers look at each other like, what the heck? I thought we were going to be volunteering. What is going on? She then says, didn't you hear the coach? We're here to volunteer and they are looking after kids. She says, don't mind them, they're just a bunch of boneheads. And he says, you know what, don't even be that mad. We do need to do some actual volunteer club, you know, to be acknowledged by the school for doing stuff and not just, you know, hurting people. The Docker brothers throw a tantrum like they're the kids here, saying, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do this. This is wrong. But there is a beautiful lady. She says, are you the volunteers? Her name is Yejin, and they look at her, and in a split second, they begin to literally pull the weeds, saying, oh gosh, these weeds need picking, and they're going crazy like a Pokemon of some sorts. She says, wait a second, you're picking the flowers too, and it seems like they don't even care. Nonetheless, Yuna goes up to our boy Peter saying, or Sungu, she says, this neighborhood is pretty far out. Why did the coach send us here? She says that they're 300 miles away from Seoul, and the coach explains that he doesn't know what this is about either, but of course he remembers that you're merely here to do volunteer work, so don't go around causing trouble. Our MC turns away saying, I'm sure there is a reason, and I'm going to search for that, and she says, why is he so down in the dumps before? Or he wasn't like this before. The Dako brothers are just chilling like they're in some sort of anime protagonist role here, and they wonder, are you a student at school? And they're asking the teacher. She says, really? Oh, come on, I'm a teacher. I'm not that young. And yeah, this is literally an elementary school, bro. Nonetheless, they say, we're students and you're an educator. Don't catch feelings. And the crowns strike again. We see the janitor or the security guard. He says, welcome to the U-Il school. This is our school security guard and janitor. He says, I'm sure that you noticed that this is actually in a rural area. And he laughs at himself. And of course, only the teacher laughs, and our MC and Yuna are like, bruh, that was so cringe. He even told him to stop. Nonetheless, we hear, from what I can tell, these school grounds are clean. What can we do? He says, follow me. And Yuna says, something isn't right. Were we really sent here to do some fishing? To do some sweeping? These group of thugs then walk up. They say, your school rent's overdue. When are you going to pay? He says, I'm sure you know, but we don't make a lot of money. So come on, we can't turn on the heating even. But you know what? Take these things. It is a bunch of potatoes, and they're like, oh yeah, look at this. but they just drop it to the ground and the security guy is sent flying to the floor. And of course, the teacher says, Yejin, there's no need for violence. Come on, this wasn't in the contract. Yuna is about to step up, but she says, you know what, Sunggu, don't get involved. I got this. But it seems like they're actually just going to watch from the sidelines. The guy goes to the security man and the teacher saying, there are other ways to pay us back. And he has a cigarette in his mouth as he looks at teacher Yejin saying, with your face, you can put up a lot of cash, you know that, right? But then somebody stops his face, and that is, oh yes, it is Junior Doko. He says, I'm gonna, but then he just gets punched in the face by the thug. And he says, how about I use these hands to beat your butt? And Junior Doko is like, something landed on my face. It was a mosquito, and bro, you're literally dripping blood. Nonetheless, we hear punches and punches, and they seem to have gotten beat up so badly, as a teacher is taking care of them. We see the security guard, and his back is also injured. Oh my gosh, that's actually horrible. She says, don't worry, thanks to your work, our school is a bit cleaner. And what about you guys stay the night, and we can talk tomorrow. Our MC says, are you alright, Captain? I can tell you've really matured. And yeah, compared to back then when they first met, they really definitely have, and they've gone through a lot of experiences. He says the biggest display of strength is knowing when to hold back, and you really impressed me today. And yeah, they didn't do anything to hurt those thugs. And they're just like, oh yeah, that's what it's like to be this cool. We see the beautiful night sky here, and we also see Yuna on the swings alone, and come on, she's always like this. We see it creaking because it is old, and she gets a flashback to when her MC told her to pick up the luggage, because of course, Nathaniel left the potions intact. She says, Sunggu, how did you do this? She says, how do I even bring this up with him? I can't bring myself to thank him. He then says, did seeing the kids today make you think of your brother? And she's like, what the heck are you doing? You just popped up like some sort of ghost. She says, why do you always show up out of nowhere like that? He says, what do you mean, little baka? Okay, he didn't say, okay, never mind. But anyway, she says, never mind as well, like just what I just said. She says, this is the perfect time to bring it up. I'll try mentioning this. She says, I want to thank you for last time. Is that what you wanted to say? And her MC just looks into the sky, and he says thank you, because of course as well, she saved him from getting beat up when she told him to meet at the clock tower outside. We see, oh, this is sad, when she was literally crying on the floor. He says, I'm sure you were scared at that moment, but you tried to protect me, and that took a lot of courage. She says, you know what, that's nothing. And also, I've been curious about something. Are you related to Peter or something? Because of course you're so strong, but nobody's as strong as you. You even took down Nathaniel, an apostle, and how could a mere D-rank killer be that strong? He says, you know what, as he closes his eyes, I'll tell you everything. I truly promise. And Yuna says thank you under her breath. He wonders what she said, and she just pulls a swing around herself because yeah, this girl is a tsundere. She then yells out, thank you, and of course he says, yeah, just calm down. He says, you definitely did that on purpose, and yeah, she's blushing because this is way too funny. Our MC gets up saying, looks like both the Dako brothers and Yuna have done some maturing. And of course, now that that's wrapped up, it's time to get going, and I wonder what he is talking about. He is then roaming the school right here at night, and he sees the janitor's office, and the dude is actually a janitor, not a security guard. But he is technically a security guard as well. He wonders if there's anything he can help him with, and this guy says, you're still awake. Don't overwork yourself and get some rest. He then laughs, and he wonders if it's pressure, but then our MC says, I'll get going now. But then the man says, you're not fooling me. I've lived decades around the smell of bloodshed. And he says, you were wrong, boy. You reek of bloodshed, and he takes off his hat, and it was a disguise. Our MC just says with some sass, volunteer work was the only way I could make it here under the radar. He says to meet you, Apostle Simon, and oh my gosh, this guy's his broom is actually a glistening blade, and this fight's about to be awesome. He says, I know you can wield a sword better than anyone in this world, and you're the best swordsman that Glory has created. This is known, or he is known, as a spiral swords master, and this is absolutely sick. He says you did your research, then I'm sure you also know you won't leave this place alive, and no freaking way, this is about to be awesome. One slash. When anyone swings a sword, there's obviously a small gap, and then the opponent's opening, that's the opponent's opening to pretty much counterattack, but for this man, it's as if he has the ability to read minds as he slashes towards our MC. And of course, not even the strongest weapon could fight or dodge a sword, and he cuts the bamboos perfectly around him, and this is obviously just visualization, until it's not because there's actually a bamboo forest near them. He says, let's see, do you live up to your name as the best swordsman in the world, Spiral Master Apostle Simon? He has a rosary around his neck, and he says, there have only been 2 people I haven't been able to defeat in 10 moves. You should be proud, because you are one of them. And he slices the bananas, or the bananas, the bamboos, and he dodges it. And he says one thing that people cannot hide is their habits and even their way of breathing as well. And he says, you know what, I wasn't sure at first, but it couldn't be possible. He then says, I, Apostle Simon, greet our brother Peter. And oh my gosh, this is actually so sick how we actually knew that it was Peter. He says, I've missed you gravely, as he of course kneels before him. And he says, wait, what? You returned to your youth? He says, I guess so. I can't believe any of this crap either. He says, you look great now, brother. And you know, in your past life, you never really looked this put together. Anyways, he says, I was right. The unrivaled swordsman of the sword, you really do bring honor to the spiral sword master. Anyway, he says, it was all thanks to you. And he then says also, I'm getting rusty a bit with my sword after spending so much time sweeping. And we find out that, oh, our MC was the one who taught him when he was also younger as well. And this is such a W reunion. He says also, have you heard about what happened to Nathaniel? He says, yeah, there was a commotion there. He says, wait a second, was that your doing? He says, yeah, that was. And he really wondered who would be willing to do all that trouble. He then asks why he actually did it. And he explains, my plan is to completely eradicate glory. He says, I see. That is super dangerous even for somebody like you. So please let me join you. And this guy really is a nuthead as well. He says, no, focus on keeping the school grounds clean. He says, no, with me by your side, we're actually going to be a strong duo. He also says that I still get that night in my dreams. We see Peter holding back Simon. Oh my gosh. He has a sword out ready to kill somebody. And it is that apostle that of course took over glory. And it seems like Simon definitely wanted to get rid of him. I would have even sacrificed my life, don't you agree? As our MC looks at this rosary in his hand. 60 years ago, we find out that Father Gabriel founded this orphanage, and out of the children that resided there, 12 of them were selected, carefully. They went through a horrible process. Like, guys, look at them. They're literally under the barbed wires. This is some military level training. They were treated like wild beasts, and they were literally enduring hell on earth. But these guys became secret special agents known as the 12 Apostles, and these guys look super menacing. Anyway, before they realized it, it had become a force that had influence across the globe, until one day a young boy came to the orphanage, and we find out that Father Gabriel took him in as an adopted son for no reason that they knew. And as soon as time passed, that child wanted to get the crown for himself. And in the end, oh my gosh, he took the crown for himself after he eliminated his own father. And of course, Simon got absolutely furious at this, but our MC held him back that day. He says, I'm doing this for my sake. Or no, it's for our sake. Trust me, this is not our time yet, and our MC is wise. He says with glory in the palm of his hands, glory turned into a filthy house of killers, and that's why it started to be corrupted. He says, I really had no power back then because of his contract, but now he has the greatest power of all time, and this is youth. He then says, I want you to watch. That man destroyed our kingdom, and I'll be the one to destroy his. And this is such a cool scene. Anyway, we see the Dako brothers, and they say, this is so sad. They say, if you give love, you get love back. But our MC is just filled with these kids on top of him, climbing him. And yeah, he doesn't even have any reaction. Nonetheless, his teacher Yejin says, thankfully, those thugs aren't here today. He says, don't worry, those thugs won't be back. And well, it seems like they took care of it, and they probably just tossed them in the water, and that's exactly what they did. Nonetheless, they say thank you as they begin to get going. They say thank you to Yuna, to our MC, and to the Dako brothers. Even our janitor is there, or Simon. He laughs, saying, I told you that you will enjoy your time at UIL, and we will look back at these fond memories. And Yuna seems kind of pissed for some reason, because, he got her name wrong on purpose. We hear Miss Yejin, we'll come back to see you every year. And he says, I'm super glad for that. Come anytime. The janitor, or Simon, says, please call me anytime you need me. And he has his gloves to, of course, cover up his actual hands, saying, you know that Apostle Simon has been supporting you for all these years. I'll be there in a flash if you ever need me. He says, take care of yourself, Simon. And the rain begins to pour, and this night seems to have gotten dark. We see the waves crash as well, and there are even thunderbolts and thunderstorms in the school. We see Simon just reading the newspaper as he says, I'll be having many guests today. And yup, there are two people wearing the hoods, and this is the person with a sword. This is the girl, oh my gosh, the sword ghost or whatever. She says, oh, this is where you've been hiding. Apostle Simon, of Father Gabriel's 12 disciples, and you're also known as the best swordsman in Korea. He says, a swordsman and a husky bear-like fellow. From what I heard, you're the best swordsman in Japan, right? The sword phantom. She says, since you already know, I'm flattered. He then asks why she is here as he takes off his little jacket. She then says, we're here for the money. He says, oh, you poor thing. You're not going to be able to make any of it. Because who dares have the nerve to say I'm the best swordsman in Korea? And yeah, bro, go show her who the heck is boss. She says this is going to be worth it. And he launches at her, and she launches at him as well, because one of them definitely is not leaving alive. We see they go back and forth with each other and their swords are coming in contact. She then says, I had my hopes considering how famous you were, but you're not as good as I thought. And this girl is acting kind of cocky. She wonders if he's getting old. Yo, his right arm just, oh no, he has a deep wound on his right arm. He says, I suppose so. If I were as good as I was back then, you'd be already dead. And oh my gosh, there's a lot of wounds right on her body. And why does she have a perfume in her hand? Nonetheless, she dashes towards him saying, get off your high horse. She says that I'm also concerned about that big guy she came with. If he's going to take both of them on, he definitely needs a bigger playing field. He then slashes at her sword as well. He then says, let's not vandalize school property, or else I'm going to have to fine you. We see oh my gosh, the window just explodes, and yeah, he just went outside. She then says, no need to worry about me. And because the person behind her, I'm guessing it's her bodyguard, said, come on, it's raining pretty hard. Are you going to be all right there? They're now in that forest, this bamboo forest, and he's dashing super fast. He says the definition of a sword is pretty much a hunk of metal that can make clean cuts. And what she has is not a sword. Oh my... Yeah, this is more of like a knife or some sort. It's a saw, exactly. And this is what's used to gouge out human flesh. And that's why Simon had like a deep cut on his arm. Nonetheless, he says she may not slash many times, but each time she does, it's going to be deep. As we see her following, and look at her with her crazy smile. This kind of reminds me of Harley Quinn. Anyway, they're now on a ledge right here, and he looks super cold as he begins to even smile a bit. She then says, what's this? You got a penchant for drama, old man. This is a perfect place for your heroic death, as we see that right over the cliff is the ocean. He says, do you know why I'm called the Spiral Sword Master? She says, whatever, I don't care. I don't really want to waste my time with this. The man behind her says, this is getting dangerous. He says, you know what, fine. I can just show you at this point. And oh no, you messed with the wrong person, girl. He said, this is Spiral Sword Mastery. And oh my gosh, she stands there so coldly. And yeah, things are about to get crazy. We then see the waves, the rain. Everything stops when he's about to use his attack, except the spiral. We hear run. She's like, what the heck is this? What on earth? He slices her neck just like that, and there is a huge spiral just, oh my gosh, that's crazy. She couldn't even react, and the sheer power is a result of hundreds of thousands of battles, and wow, that is actually crazy. That is a heavenly state, and what an amazing attack as you see the sword slashes on her body. He says, now, it's your turn, big guy, as she is on the floor, and he then says, if you hadn't retired all these years, you would be dangerous, but it's too late. He says, what do you mean? You're the one that's going to be defeated. But there is a huge cut at his abdomen, and he's wondering what just happened. He says, you really thought you won this battle? What's wrong? He said, I could have sworn I slashed her with my sword. But oh my gosh, he wonders if he's seeing ghosts here. It might have been an illusion, and now he realizes that the perfume was a hallucinogen. And wow, what a very sneaky brat. He says, if I'm seeing illusion now, all I have to do is not look. He then goes for it again, and oh, it seems like it works, but look at him in real time, guys. He's just swinging his sword around weirdly, and I can guarantee if he was able to swing a sword around, this girl and her partner would be dead in an instant. She says, that's why I'm called the Sword Phantom. I know you can't hear me though. It's because I literally am a ghost. And oh my gosh, she then goes to attack him, and hopefully he is still alive. We are back at the academy, the Shin Yongwon High School. We hear, guys, can I ask you something? The Dako brothers seem to be quite down. They say, Miss Yejin won't answer my texts. Is love always this painful? And yeah, what is this guy even saying? Anyways, she sent a picture to them, and it says, woman with a sword and a bear-like man. And of course, he says, Ryuna, how do you deal with a woman who's acting like this? Our MC just ignores what they're saying, and he goes into a serious mode as he makes a phone call, and we see the cliff where of course Simon was fighting. We see the blind lady as well as the captain saying, why is it so cold here and it smells of salt water? Our MC looks at this box here with an image, and the dog looks super angry. She says, what's wrong? What's gotten into you? And oh my gosh, our MC has veins on his head. This is the first time I've seen Sunggu or Peter mad. He remembers to when Simon was asking if he could go with him, and also when they bid farewell to each other. And if only they were together, then it would have been fine. And there is an arm that says, Dear Peter, and it is, oh no, it is Simon's arm. And Peter is so frustrated. And yeah, things are about to get crazy. We then see somebody spying on them with binoculars. He says, Master, the target has received his gift. He says, are you sure it's Peter? He says, I'm sure of it. It's an old man, right? But he's not alone. They say there's a woman with a dog, a young guy. Wait, where's the young guy? Our MC grabs the phone and he looks behind him in a split second like, what? How does he know I was here? I have no choice. I'm going to stab this dude. But then it's the lady. And we hear, I'm flattered. He says, you're the Phantom. Listen here. You're not going to get away with this. You better make sure he's alive. And you know, for this guy that was going to attack him, his hand's already destroyed by our MC's left hand because his grip is crazy. He says, if he is not alive, just know you are going to die a very slow and painful death. And look at his eyes here, yo. Oh my gosh, our MC is not playing any games, yo. This is sick. We see our MC on the phone and somebody asks if he's going to be alright. We then see they are going to her house and it's pretty much this huge yacht, and the blind girl says there's info on the name, ID and stuff, and the information on the passengers. However, there's only one boat that has absolutely none of that revealed. It's called the Ghost Cruise, and yup, that's the one. They're the ones who kidnapped Apostle Simon, and this is kind of spooky. He says, one thing I do know is where they got that boat from. He then explains, in Korea we have glory. Ever since the Kamakura shogunate to modern day, there's been an organization for a millennium called the Kitoryu, and they are pretty much like the strongest Yakuza gang, and the incident that happened at the boss's 60th birthday banquet is responsible, or they are responsible for that, as you see a ton of dead bodies. He says it was all at the hands of 2 people only. Oh my gosh. And she says, yeah, I know that one, but why was it called a missing case? Isn't it like a massacre? He says because even after a gruesome of 2 versus 2,000, not a single body was left behind. And of course the police immediately put out a wanted order on those 2, and I'm guessing that is the girl as well as her bodyguard, and this is a tragic story. He says now in Korea she's become the new Simon of Glory. Oh no. She asks why he's doing this. She says not to mention it's ocean terrain. If you die, nobody's gonna come out to find you. He says don't worry, I'll be fine. No matter how many people I fight, I will make sure to avenge my fellow comrade. Anyway, we hear, why do we have to wear all this goofy stuff? And yep, it is the Taco Brothers and they are on this mission as well. He says, trust me, I told you not to come, but why the heck are you here? He says you guys could really die here, but they don't care. A killer does not fear death. And this guy begins to smoke a fake cigarette. Yeah, he is way too funny. That's literally a lollipop, bro. He says, how are you liking the yacht? And this is Yoon Chang Choi. Let's go. He's helping our MC for this mission. He says it's cold out. Go inside where it's warm. And he says, why do you look so nervous? Because he's literally sweating. Because he says drugs, legal weapons, and all these different stuff. There is a lot of stuff on that boat. And usually you cannot enter without permission. But of course, he says, whatever. We can finally see our destination. It's the Ghost Cruise. And our MC says, I can't finally wait to meet the Sword Phantom. But most of all, I want to be the one to punish her, and it seems to be a crazy party going on top of the ship as a lot of other yachts begin to approach it. And that was a rhyme. Nonetheless, we see it's a really fun time, and this guy hits one of the workers, saying, I want to speak with your boss, and wow, that's so mean. A lady with high heels comes, saying that everybody calls me master, and there is a bodyguard from before when they had their cloaks on. Her name is of course Simon, at least for now, and she is the master of this cruise, and she is an apostle. We see that she has kind of short hair as well as a piercing on her eyebrow, and her partner, I'm guessing her bodyguard, just kind of looks like a thug. No offense. Nonetheless, she sits down beside this man. He says, have you forgotten who I am? He says, I'm the president of Dusang Group. She then sits on his lap as she begins to caress his face. She says, I could get you feeling even higher than you already are. And just at that second, he then cannot move and he's frozen. He wonders what happened, and she says, I didn't think you'd be into this stuff. He cannot breathe as he holds his neck, trying to. She says, throw him into the ocean. Of course. And this guy puts him on top of his shoulder like he weighs nothing. And she really asks him, what do you think Peter's like? And this guy says, I don't know. I don't even know if he will show up. She says, I've got to kill him to get my cash. And she says, hurry up, Peter. And yeah, this girl's a psycho. The Daco brothers are like, what the heck? A club with a huge pool? This is pretty much a hotel. There are a lot of billionaires, as we see like this Arabian prince or some sort, and some people from England. And he says, I bet they wipe their butt with dollar bills. They then look at each other, Junior and Biggie, and they say, let's go, and go to the VVIPs. And we see Donald Trump here, and he says, would you look at that? Hey, over here, They're then cleaning like crazy, and they give them like a $800 tip. He says, wait a second, $100 is about 100,000. So we just got 1,000,000 won for cleaning. We then see them lying down on a mountain of money and they're shooting with their money guns and they say we're rich, when in reality they're on the floor just rolling around. Our MC's like, really bruh? Anyways, it seems like the host has finally called out to everybody in the main floor. She says, I would like to extend a warm welcome to everybody, and we have a few items before the auction. She says, so you're the new fake Simon of Glory, huh? The main auction today is called the Podarok. And she says, do you know what the most powerful weapon in the world is? This little guy can take hundreds of thousands of lives in less than 2 minutes. And it is a biochemical bomb, and wow, how the heck is this here? She says she really defeated Simon. What the heck? People are beginning to be skeptical and gossip, saying that's a bomb created in the Soviet Union. How did it get here? She says it's more silent than a bullet, and of course more painful than a bomb. This old man says, dang you, I was wondering who stole it, and this is Victor Igora, who's a top weapon merchant in Russia, and dang, they really finessed this dude out of his own bomb. He says, bring that thing to me right now. The man then stops 2 of his bodyguards going for them, and of course they just walk past him. They say, move man if you don't want to die. They then approach the lady, and she says, it's taken you a while to feel it, huh? They then begin to go crazy as they hold onto their heads, and I'm wondering if they've been affected by the Podarok. They're, oh, what the heck? Their face begins to like burn off or melt, and he wonders if the bodyguard did something to them because he put both of his palms on their face. Everybody is just looking at this like, what the heck just happened? She says, no, don't worry about it. Apologies for my delay. The auction will start tomorrow night, and it will be starting at $200 million. Okay, that's actually crazy. She says, I'll also let you all in on a special little secret. There's one more special item going for auction. She says it's something so crazy and it's beyond your imagination. They wonder if it's some sort of relic or artifact or even perhaps a weapon or shield. She says, don't tell anyone, but this will be revealed tomorrow. They really wonder why she's doing this and why it's secretive, but our MC is here very disappointed. He says, Simon, where the heck are you? We then see the bodyguard as he says, do you think Peter is among them? She explains if he doesn't come, he'll lose a chance to ever see that again. And we are back to Yeon Chang Choi and they're going back to the room, and he says, how about let's get some dinner first? He says, great idea. And he says, you must be careful though, okay? I'm sure you saw what happened earlier. This girl is so strong, and we were pretty much at her mercy the entire time we were on this warship. But somebody calls out for Mr. Choi, and it's exactly who they did not want to run into. It is the fake Simon. She says, it's been so long. How about we eat together? He says, sorry, I'm going to skip the dinner. The champagne has me feeling off. But then she goes closer, saying, you need to take my hint. Somebody then pushes her off. It is our MC. He explains rearrangements will have to be made for tonight's dinner, but if you truly need someone to dine with, I can join instead as our MC comes closer to her, and yeah, our boy got that riz, but wait, he's kind of like 70 years old, but whatever. Anyway, he guides the chairman back to his room, and she looks kind of pissed. She says, this dude actually has the guts to do that to me, huh? She says, I'll take you up on that offer, and she sprays some perfume on herself. She says, just a fair warning. I suggest you loosen your belt, and she gets closer to him as the aroma begins to spiral around her MC, because we're going to have an awesome night at this table. And yeah, our MC's probably going to use that table and hit you in the face with it. She then runs her fingers through our MC's lips as she says they don't even know what's coming. Everybody who is a victim to me. We hear there you are, master, and it is the Dako brothers. And of course, it seems like they actually saved our MC. They then say, we are at your service. We will clean everything and anything. And of course, give us the word. Our MC finally comes back to reality, and she says, oh well, looks like you got lucky, babe. And yeah, guess what? Luck isn't real, little girl. Anyway, she walks away with that suspicious bodyguard. He says, what was that? How did she do that in a blink of an eye? He then says, it must be something. Anyway, we see the Dako brothers, and he says, did you see? She's going to tip us $1,000. And yeah, these guys are definitely going to come home rich. Our MC is looking really clean here, and it seems like he definitely knows that this might not be an easy fight. We see that she is now bathing in her, literally, look how big this bathroom is. It's the size of like an entire mansion, and the bodyguard is just here on the pillar. She says, aren't you curious to see how steamy it'll be? He says, what do you mean? She explains that 100 killers from Brazil. He also completely pulverized Nathaniel. She says he can really light up a battlefield, and yet he's an older man in his 70s, and oh, I thought she was talking about Sunggu, but yeah, she technically is. Nonetheless, he says, are you sure that that was Peter? That dude? This place is nothing like Yongwang Hospital. Do you really think he would be able to get on here? She says, I'll have to ask you. I'll have to find out who he is and why he's prying into this business's organization. And she says, have you forgotten? As she splashes the water, we have that at our disposal. And she then asks, or he then asks, are you worried about that man? He says, come on, you must be kidding me. I don't care if it was a man or a woman. I just really wanted to see what he looked like. And she's talking about our MC. We see the beautiful yacht here and they're having a blast, probably 24/7 and gambling, and I want to gamble, just kidding guys, nonetheless. We see our MC pretending to be a worker here, pushing laundry. He gets a flashback to Simon. He says, I don't have any other family, and you're the only person I can call a brother. Thank you so much. I'll give you my life if I have to. He says, I don't really want you to get hurt at all. And then he says, I can't die. I can't die until I fulfill our promise. And he says, wait, you still remember that? Our MC says, what do you mean? I've got one of the best memories, and yeah, bro, he's the greatest hitman alive. Memories, nothing. He says, Simon, I'll definitely get you back. And W for MC, he is the GOAT. He is about to turn this corner as we see two people guarding this door. They then say, hey, what are you doing here? He says, don't worry, I'm delivering room service. They say, go ahead, blah, blah, blah. But the man says, there are no Asian waiters on this ship. And he says, maybe we should take him to her. But then our MC just puts them inside the bag or inside the cart, and that was like 0.5 seconds. Nonetheless, our MC goes to the fridge and, well, like he's gonna get a snack, but he just beat up everybody in there. And of course, he then goes and destroys the people maintaining this sort of engine. Our MC goes to these other bathrooms and he's looking for everything. He says, I've searched everything and there's only one place left to search. That means that Simon is going to be at this last location. We see a dot right in front of these people, and it is a piece from 1780, and you call this a masterpiece, bro. Anyway, everybody is flabbergasted. And he is like, hey, we will begin the bidding at $1 million. Some lady from England says 1.1, and this prince says 1.3 million. She says grazie or thank you, and it seems like Farsari has the highest bid at 1.35 million. And she says glory to Italy, and the greatest masterpiece of Monet, Martri, is now here. She says now is a real highlight. It's something really special as they unveiled the red clothing behind this safe. And everybody's like, wait, I wonder how much that's gonna cost. That must be awesome. She says, biochemical weapons? What could this be? Just kidding, it pales in comparison to those things. She explains this is more precious than any jewel, and she then uncranks the wheel as it opens, and these two people who were bidding earlier are shocked. It is a former apostle, no, Simon, and oh my gosh, his right arm is chopped off. Or I guess at least his forearm. She introduces him as the greatest swordsman in the past, the Spiral Swordmaster. And these people are like, no way, you mean that Spiral Swordmaster? But isn't that guy just a dead body? And yeah, Simon looks kind of lifeless here. She then says as she looks at the crowd and turns her head, I bet your blood is boiling right now, Peter. And she goes crazy. She says, come on, I'll find you anyway, even if you don't react. Everybody is like, what? Is that really the real apostle? Everybody then shifts as if there's a strong aura, and it is our MC. And look how infuriated he is, and she says, I finally found you. There's a lot of shock and talking amongst the audience, and her bodyguard says, have you found him? He says, I did, but I also didn't. She mentions that he was just there in the crowd, as you see her MC, and she mentions just that bit of a second there was like an animosity like a sharp knife, but there's no way. She really wonders who it was, and she says, no matter, of course, let's begin the bidding for this body of Apostle Simon, or actually still alive. She said, let's start at 10 million. She says, come on, somebody take him away before he passes. Our MC's just looking at this helpless because he doesn't have the money. He then gets kind of pissed because she's using Simon as bait to catch him. And second of all, if he does bid, he'll expose himself, and he's holding onto his wrist really hard here. And he says, what can I do to save you? And even the greatest hitman is clueless. She then pats him on the head, saying, you're nothing more than an unwanted hunk of flesh, could you imagine that? She then brings his face up with his hair, and she says, no bidders. I see. It's pretty much because he has no arms, or a missing arm, right? Then I guess we're going to get rid of it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 20 million. And it is Yong Chang Choi, the GOAT, and yes, let's go, our MC's friend is a legend. She then says, why is Yong Chang Choi here, and why is he getting in my way? She says that he's supposed to be the right-hand man to our boss at Glory, and she says she is confused, But 20 million, is there anyone else? As you see Yoon Chang Choi's hands literally shaking. She says, congratulations Yoon Chang Choi, chairman, and everybody's clapping, and yeah, our bro is probably nervous as heck. We see it is of course Simon, and he is getting treated here, and it seems like he has a fever come up upon him. He says, thank you so much. I'm worried that you bidding on him is going to put you in danger, and also, you know, because of his life, and bro, he just lost 20 million. Nonetheless, our MC says that this really is quite a dilemma, and obviously if they had not bought Simon back, he would die so easily. Anyways, Yoon Chang Choi is sweating, chairman. He says it's really dangerous for them to be here because they could become a target. He says, don't worry, I've prepared for something like this. I've got a hidden card, you could say, or maybe an ace in the hole. And oh, it is the Dot Go brothers, and they're dripped out in Gucci, Louis Vuitton, even some Coach, or no, that's probably some rich brand I'd never heard of. Nonetheless, they say, what do you want with this peasant? And they're talking to our MC. He puts his arm around our MC, and our MC just has his hands folded. He says, come on, just follow our lead. You'll be rolling in dough. He says, I thought you came here to become a legendary killer like Peter. And they then reflect like, yeah, wait, what the heck? What happened to that? All of this money disturbed our main goal. He says, don't worry, cleaning floors may buy us Gucci and Louis Vuitton, but don't worry, it won't make us legendary killers. So exactly what is our mission? Our MC says something dangerous is about to happen, and since you two cleaned this entire ship, you must have some good knowledge about it, right? He says, yes, we've cleaned every single spot, even down to the shoes of the VIP clientele. And our MC says, perfect, because all of his efforts, or all of their efforts, are going to become awesome and useful in the mission. He says, from this point on, you will be assigned a special task of an A rank caliber, and yeah, technically that is technically true, you know. He's looking at Simon right here, and he looks kind of sad. He gets a flashback to when they are on a rooftop in school, and he says, I wish I could eat a homemade lunch packed by my mom, because I'd find out that they're actually just posing as students. He says, I wish I could just run around and play. And he's looking down at these kids actually having fun, like ordinary students. Our MC wonders what's gotten into him. Our MC says there's no way we could ever attend a regular school, and he has his sword, saying, that's absolutely true, but a guy can dream, right? He says, our MC, you know what, let's make our own school instead, and he looks back confused. He says, you and me. It'll be for the ones with no money, no home, and no parents, or with nothing. And our school will be for the poor children, similar to us in the past. He says it'll be the first of our kind, and look at our MC stance here, that's very typical of a protagonist. Simon is looking back like, oh my gosh, really? He says, I'll even lend you the textbooks for free, and oh my gosh guys, it seems like it has become a full circle to where MC was working at a bookstore. He says, brother, absolutely not. Our MC is actually kind of surprised, like, wait, what bro, what do you mean? He says, I'm gonna buy the textbooks with my own money, as he gives a smile, and wow, what a beautiful scene in the manhwa. He's really hoping he wakes up, and he says, come on, we have to go to school. And Yoon Chang Choi is right here, and this is so sad right here guys, and hey, hopefully it all works out. We then see the fake Apostle Peter, or no, fake Apostle Simon. No, there ain't no fake Apostle Peter, bro. No one's replacing him. She is definitely furious, and she says, I never liked Yoon Chang Choi. Why did he do that? She then yells out saying, he completely ruined my plans, and why does he even care about the Spiral Swordmaster? She says, let's kill him, and he then says, wait, what? As he begins to put back her high heel, and yeah, this ain't Cinderella, bro. Nonetheless, she says, let's behead that dude and hang it up everywhere. She says, you know he is the Daehha group chairman, right? We can't kill him without the boss's permission. She then slaps this random dude on her right side, saying, don't get it twisted. I am the shipmaster. Everybody answers to me. She says get rid of the Spiral Master and Chairman Choi, and eventually Peter will come out. We see a door knock, and our MC says, don't worry, it must be room service, let me get that. It seems like it actually was, as we see a tea here, or a teapot and a cup. He then says, my goodness, I guess I really did set up that young lady, huh? She's now sending him crappy food to make sure I have a horrible time, and yeah, this is probably drugged. He says, I haven't had much of an appetite as well, and he says, really, you don't want to eat? He says, I'll be back though, before the tea gets cold, and he says, really, fine, I'll be waiting then. RMC exits the door, and he goes to the other one. He says the hospitality on the ship is very bad. He says that tea you just served, the usual hot tea is 60 degrees Celsius, but that was 75, meaning you lack the qualifications to be considered a quality cruise and luxury, and there are a bunch of guys with guns around him, and yeah, these guys are about to get wrecked, and the only things he has in his hands are some salt shakers. He says you guys really don't know the predicament you are in, and come at me, as he puts the two shakers right in his hand, and yeah, these guys are gonna say goodbye. These guys are all wondering what the heck does he think he's gonna do with those pepper shakers? This guy must be bluffing. He says it's a common tactic I've seen many times before, but something's off about him as he says, "What's wrong? Can't shoot?" And it feels like he can see right through them, and yeah bro, he definitely can. He says eventually you'll reach a hard ceiling by putting all your faith in that gun, and our MC is literally faster than the speed of a gunshot. He then has a pepper shaker in his hands as he comes towards this guy. He says this guy, he's eliminating everybody by striking them in the temple. Is this guy even a human? He says that this guy's eyesight is way above those of anybody that I've ever seen. They say, "Come on guys, stop waiting, shoot, shoot, shoot." RMC says, "Don't worry, it's useless. You'll end up shooting an ally instead." And now as for the real show, how fearsome Pepper can be. He then tosses it at them and it explodes, and obviously they cannot see. He then gets it back and he catches it and he hits one in the face, and look at these guys shooting like they're crazy. He says, "What a shame. You could have lived a few more seconds, but you were using a short range weapon instead of guns." And yeah guys, look at that. They're all here on the ground, and yeah, GG to them. Somebody reports like, "Miss, it's about the men. They're all dead." And she says, "Really? Are you kidding me? That only means one thing. I knew it. That old geezer was being hidden by Yun Chang Choi this whole time." This guy's like, "Shipmaster, the restaurant. Peter has appeared at the restaurant and everybody there is gone." She says, "What do you mean? He is not at Yun Chang Choi's room or Yun Chang Choi's room?" And anyway, we get another call. He's at the swimming pool. Peter's at the swimming pool. No, he's at the control room. And this dude is almost everywhere. She says, "What kind of trickery is this?" She then says, "Find out what's going on." And look at these dudes, guys. They're literally fighting against each other. And yeah, this is definitely deceit and chaos just at its finest. She says, "Come on, get moving. Who the heck is causing havoc on my ship?" And actually, it's probably the Dako brothers because of what they said. And yeah, W for them. We then see them right here and they say, "It's all part of our big plan." We get a flashback and they're talking to our boy Peter. VIP means very important paychecks. I mean people. He says, "You know, those people are in danger." And they say, "What do you mean? We want more stuff to buy." He explains that the woman's subordinates killed that VIP member's bodyguards, and this girl definitely wants to take out all of the VIP members on the ship. They're then like, "What? No way, how dare she?" And yeah, this is going to be so funny once it's animated. He then brings their heads together as he says, "Listen closely. You guys are going to be assigned a task of an A rank caliber, and it is also of special operations." He says, "Go on and clean as you do have, but you need to spread a rumor." And they're spreading the rumor right now. It's pretty much about them saying, "Do you know that the shipmaster plans to kill all the VIP members?" As you see Donald Trump right here, and there's also Prince, and they're like, "What the heck did he just say?" And he says, "Should we tell the VIPs about this? Of course, if the master finds out, we're gonna be in trouble." And they both look at each other like, "Bro, boy, ain't no way, boy." They then forgot what they needed to do after the rumor, but then of course he said, "Oh yeah, Sunggu just said to wait." Our MC is looking at his clock or at his watch. He then pulls back his gun and he says, "Now is a final signal as he shoots up in the air," and everybody wonders what that is. They then say the rumors are true. She's going to eliminate all of us. Our MC mentions, "Once you hear a gunshot, this is the most important step that you guys need to execute." They then say they yell, "Someone help. There's an old man here fighting with the ship's crew." And let's go. That's pretty much them saying that Peter is here. And yeah, this is such a master plan. She says it seems like people are saying that Peter has shown up. This old guy says, "Don't worry, we're trying to take control of the situation, but still the VIPs aren't really trusting us." He gets hit in the face with an ashtray and she begins to literally hammer this guy's head, yelling out Peter's name. She says, "Come on," and we see her ugly face here. Oh my gosh. She says, "That old fart, that disgusting little mole, why the heck is he doing this? How dare him?" He then gets beat up super badly as his eyes turn red. Oh my gosh. The ashtray drops to the ground, but we hear the bodyguard say, "Don't worry, I will do it." And she then looks at him and she's like, "What did you just say?" She then smiles saying, "Really?" She then pats off the literal blood or wine or whatever is on her skirt and legs. She says, "Baby, there's no need to get hasty. You can dig all you want, but of course these guys will go somewhere else." He says, "Let me," but then she puts her hand on his chest and she looks at him saying, "No. I know what to do, all right. Remember our promise? You are a servant. I am the master. I'll deal with this. And this is what we're gonna do." She then breaks something. She says, "If you want to catch a mole, you need to blow up the ground," as she whips out the biochemical sort of poison right here. She then licks it like an absolute maniac, saying, "We'll take out that mole, as well as 200,000 people aboard the ship." And yeah, this girl has lost it. We then see the smoke begin to rise and go through the doors, and her MC is like, "No, she wouldn't." And we then see a vision of people dying here, saying did she just really detonate the Potter Rock? He then begins to run, saying I don't have time to get to the control room. Everybody needs to go above ground, and at this rate, everybody's going to die. But wait a second, why is everybody chilling here? He says even Simon will die as well as the other people here like the Dako brothers and Chairman Choi. And he says no way. But then our MC is smiling as he says, I've been in that situation countless of times in my day, and yeah, our MC just always is prepared. The Potter Rock is actually something that can kill hundreds of thousands of people with a mere few drops, and that was just released on this ghost cruise. Coughing up blood, hair whitening, and also eyes beginning to bleed are all signs of this. But what makes it so fearsome is actually something else. It's the panic that everybody goes into, and that is true. He says from hallways, casino, lobby, and swimming pools, it's pretty much like the gates of hell had opened. And the best way to really get them out of here is by using the emergency alarm or making an announcement on the ship. But as he searched the ship, he realized something. It doesn't have an emergency alarm or equipment to make those announcements, and so that's definitely so bad. He says Simon is completely unconscious and vulnerable, so he's in the most danger, and he then goes through the people here, right through the crowd. He says, what am I supposed to do? It is a goat Chairman Choi, and he is running in the direction of our MC while he is carrying Simon on his back. Our MC says, I'll carry him. He says, no, Gu. Listen, do you know how Deha became the greatest thing in the world? We never let go on friends or people. And let's go, that's a W mindset. He's literally sweating here and he says, leave him up to me, I got you bro. And go do what you have to do and get revenge on these guys that are trash. He says, Mr. Choi, thank you so much. He says, I'm glad that the children I once knew became a dependable and responsible adult in the blink of an eye. He then says calmly as everybody has left already, I'll leave it all to you then, and I'll be right back. He says, by the way, Sungu, wait. The poison gas is coming from that direction, and our MC does not give a crap, and he really wonders what he's trying to do there. Our MC is jumping through stairs and this stuff. He says, I can't help but feel like he's capable of making the impossible possible, and you can't spell impossible without I'm possible. He says back then he felt the same way with Peter, and I wonder if he's getting the same vibes. We then see a music player right here, and everybody is dying, including the mercenaries. This guy is fine. And she says, it's time for a toast to my victory, because she thinks she's won. And yeah, look at your dress, it's already spilled on, and get a new dress, bro. Or girl. He says, I just know that gas melted off the flesh and bones of everyone. I am truly curious if the boss will be able to tell the corpses apart, and yeah, don't worry, there'll be no corpses. The ship is now shaking, and everybody, or no, the two of them are like, wait, what's going on? Things begin to crash, and she says, wait, this boat is swaying? How is a ghost crew swaying? And look at it right here, it's getting crashed by these waves. 5 minutes ago, we find out that our MC shut down auto control mode, and he accessed the tank compartment 1. We hear, how would you like to open the tank? We find out that the reason ships can float above water is because there are of course tanks that hold water inside to maintain balance. And so when one loses it, then it goes off balance. And guys, I guess I'm learning a few things here. I'm pretty sure you guys are too. He says there are no emergency or alarms and all of the passengers go crazy. And so the best way is to of course open one of the tanks and it rises up. And everybody realizes that they have to get to the surface because the boat is sinking. Everybody's climbing up these stairs, and let's go, the gas has nowhere to go. He then opens up this door, and he says, I'm going to take down that sword phantom now, and let's go. He found his way. Somebody says, over here, the deck is just beyond this door. He then gets shot in the shoulder and in the chest, and these mercenaries are like, where do you guys think you were going? They then crash open on the door like, come on, let us in, because the gas is beginning to go towards them from the stairs. They then begin to laugh like, ha ha ha, but then something happens and they see a fist go through the metal, what the heck, and they get launched flying. He says, you put up a good fight. I mean the door, of course. And yup, let's go, it's Junior Dako coming in clutch as well, and we also see Biggie Dako right here. Everybody is cheering like, let's go, we're saved, and our heroes are basking in their glory. She then sees, as she sees them, what the heck is going on? Somebody runs in saying, Shipmaster, Peter is there. She says, the auction area, huh? She then begins to undress and she begins to put on her usual clothes, which are her short jean shorts, as well as her tank top. She says, what scent would Peter like? As she looks for the best perfumes right here. She says, what about this one? This one worked on the Spiral Swordmaster perfect. She says, actually, I know exactly which one I should use. Not even the great Peter will be able to escape from this, and it seems like she's bringing in a crazy one. And oh my, she got a tablecloth and she put all of the perfumes inside, and yeah, our MC isn't going to be able to make it out of there. He is standing at the top of the staircase in the center stage where the light is beaming. She then opens up the door saying, "I knew it. Peter and Yun Cheng Choi were in cahoots. But wait, what the heck? Why are you here, young man? Where is Peter?" He then says, "Nothing. Absolutely nothing." And well, what a legend. She says, "Little brat, answer me when an adult asks you a question." He says, "We will now begin the final auction of the Ghost Cruise. Today's prize is a new apostle recruited by the boss of Glory Club, or a fake apostle. We have the Sword Phantom," and she says, "Shut your darn mouth." She says, of course, as she smirks, as she's listening to her MC say, she's probably best known as Glory's rusty fake sword. And let's begin the auction at 10 cents, and she is literally held back by her bodyguard, and yeah, she calls her MC a brat. This guy, the bodyguard, looks kind of pissed as her MC brings it down to 5 cents, 2 cents, 1 cent, and nobody even takes it. He says, "What a shame, and don't be too sad, you little sword phantom, because that's what you're worth. You are worth nothing, and I'll pay you to make up for the lost cost. What about that? $0 and 0 cents." And she brings out her blade, which is so ugly. It's not really a true blade. It's literally like the saw thing. But then he says, "Let me ask you a question," and she begins to get calmer. He says, "That night, did you truly believe you surpassed the legendary master of the Spiral Swordmaster?" And he says, "You've got a long way to go." And he brings out the sword, and both of them are shocked. He says, "Let me truly show you the sword technique that has been with me for generations," and our MC gets in the spiral position, and yup, this is going to be literally the Spiral Swordmaster's technique at its peak, and let's go, Peter. She then says, whatever, cut the act, kid." But this guy says, "Wait a second, this dude is a high schooler at best. There's no way a kid like this could actually replicate that technique. But yet somehow, it's pretty much like he's got the skill to back it up." He says there's something strange about this kid, and look at his eyes right here. Yeah, our MC ain't playing no games. He then tells the fake Simon, "You know what, come on, let me make the first move this time." She says, "I said get out of my way." And she then looks at him with a crazy look, and yeah, you do not got the Renengan, little girl. He says, "That gaze, I see. It seems like she's actually getting serious." She says, "I'm going to show you how I chop up little trash like you." And that's the same look she had when she literally obliterated 2,000 men. That's actually absolutely crazy. We find out that a killer organization that's been around for 1,000 years would fall completely in a single day, and it's all because of a betrayal of a Yakuza gang. This guy is then pouring up his wine, and he's saying, "So you members are of the Kitoryu, right? The Sword Phantoms." He says, "Who the heck uses swords in this day and age?" And this guy seems to be the head of somebody. This guy has a gun right here, and he says, "I doubt you're faster than a gun." He says, "I moved the moment I saw you. You look like your mother. And of course, come here next to me, and let's see if you look like her down there as well." And she gets super furious as her eye turns crazy. She literally activates the Renengan, and oh my gosh, this girl's about to get revenge. He says, "Say hi to your mom as me as well." He then shoots his gun, but then, oh my gosh, his head is on the ground, and she looks like she's here for revenge, and that's what she did. 2,000 of them were gone by that weapon, and she says, "You want to get sliced or diced?" as she takes off her boots. She says, "Your wish is my command," and he wonders why she's doing that. She says, "There's no point in trying to scheme up a new plan. I hope you're excited," as she licks her lips. "I specially prepared this for you." And it seems like she literally teleports so quickly like Saitama, and her MC's eyes cannot keep up. And she is bouncing on top of the pillars like this, like crazily, and she then goes to attack her MC, but he has a sword here, and he manages to dodge it, but of course, he's literally now kneeling on the ground. She says, "How is she this powerful? Is that what you're thinking?" No, and her MC is probably thinking, "Bruh, this girl is cooked." Nonetheless, she then disappears again, and she is attacking her MC from a lot of different angles. He then tosses some wine at her, or some alcohol, and it misses, obviously. We see that on her foot is actually these spikes, and I'm guessing that's helping with of course, the grip on the ground. And he is now tossing all of this alcohol, but it's missing at her, and she uses this physical power equal to an exponential amount of her body weight that comes from her speed and recoil. She then, so that's how she gets stronger, is with the speed. She then hits her MC swords like shockwaves, and the guy watching is like, this kid hasn't been able to fight back because my master is so quick. But something's strange. This kid is definitely barely defending, and he's being overwhelmed, but he hasn't even blinked, and he has no signs of exhaustion. And yeah, this girl is in for a rude awakening. She's then about to slash her MC with her full force, but her MC dodges it. She says, "Time is ticking. When are you gonna attack?" He says, "It feels like I'm fighting with a dozen people," and this kind of reminds me of Speed of Sound Sonic from One Punch Man. Anyways, he says this kid is definitely not able to fight back, but how is he still going on? This guy is just watching every move. He says, "Wait, he's watching her. He's just watching her attacks just like that. Maybe the reason why he's not choosing to do it is for a certain reason. His master is right beside him now, and he says, "Master, please stop. I feel something." She says, "Come on, I don't want you to fight. Let me take care of this," as she literally kicks him. Oh my gosh, she's losing control now. Her eyes seem to have gone rampant. I'm not gonna lie guys, these eyes are actually pretty cool. We then see him crashed into one of the tables here, and our MC says, "You're breathing pretty hard," but our MC didn't break a sweat. He says, "Your little sword techniques are pretty fast," but yeah, they don't even hold a candle to the Spiral Sword Master, and it's funny. He then says the Kitoryu was around for over 1,000 years, yet this is all it is. She then begins to twitch and go crazy as she disappears once again, going crazier than last time, and she is about to bite off her MC because look at her mouth right here. She looks like a titan. Just kidding. He says, "Master, wait, no." Our MC then gets a flashback to when he was talking to his brother Simon. He says, "There are a lot of strong people, and I want to be stronger like you, brother Peter. You think I can pull it off?" He then says, "Yes, you are one of the strongest men in the world, Simon, and you were the one to create this, a technique nobody would dare to surpass." Her eyes versus his sword. This is a spiral slash, and oh my gosh, he gets sent flying. But wait, we then see they have the typical, where both of them do their attack and they're both standing. He says, "You're wondering how I stopped all of your attacks. You kick the ground beneath you to fly. They have a glaring weakness to them, and that's that you require something to launch off of. And all you had to do was make sure that she was in the air, and oh my gosh, her right arm is chopped off as she's looking at it. She yells, 'No, no, there's no way.' Her bodyguard then goes to her, like, 'Master, are you alright?' She says, 'Detonate it. Detonate all the perfume.' He says, 'I understand why you are so confident in yourself. I see.' He says, 'This is a losing battle from the get-go, and you will die at my hands,' she says. And we see a huge perfume explosion right behind him. And look at him right here. He says, 'Wait a second. Could this be the perfume from last time?' She says, 'Don't even bother struggling,' she says, as she smiles with the last breath. 'You're basically dead, and Peter can't save you.' And look at this. Our MC is going to go up against a literal biochemical attack, and let's see if he could actually survive. And yeah, probably. Our MC is surrounded by the smoke, and he says there's no way to escape. We then see the fake Simon laughing like crazy, saying that this is my favorite part. He's now going to go crazy, like of course the real Simon did earlier. Our MC is of course just going crazy and swaying in the smoke, and his eyes are wide open though. She says, "The moment you smell this, you are going to die." She says both you and Simon are going to be floating out on the water like fish, but she then gets surprised like, "Wait, what the heck? He's still there." And it seems like he whips out his sword, and it is covered in his tie. The guy then says, "Wait, what the heck? What is he doing to that sword? And how is he not even, of course, high off that perfume?" She says, "Let's just see how long that will last," as she leaps towards him. And her MC puts some wine or some alcohol on his sword that was wrapped up with his cloth or his tie. He says, "I've been waiting this whole time for you to spray that," as we see the cologne go around him. But then this guy says, her bodyguard, "Wait a second. It seems like it catches on fire." And it seems like the hallucinogen perfume is actually very combustible, and it's on fire now, and so he can easily use it to light one. He says, "Wait a second." That moment, that's when he figured out the properties of the perfume, was when she touched on his lips. She says, "You piece of trash," and she's literally, keep in mind she's missing an arm and it's bleeding out like crazy. She says, "Whatever, that fire's gonna get you nowhere." But she says, "Wait a second." Our MC says, "I'm gonna light this place on fire," as he stabs it into the ground, and it seems like it begins to run towards her. And wow, she says, "How is this possible?" He says, the bodyguard, "This dude has been planning this from all along." And yo, he was throwing all of that alcohol and stuff so that it gets on fire, guys. And yo, this guy is way too smart. She yells out, "You impudent brat." She then jumps across the places where it isn't lit on fire. Our MC blocks it though. He then says that the arms are crucial to keep one's balance, and so with her left arm gone, this is going to be hard for her to maintain her normal fighting stances and stuff, and so she's become weaker and slower, and this girl has truly reached her limit. As her MC says, "I did not expect this," and somebody then knocks her out, and it is her bodyguard, and this guy just did that in a flash. And he then says, "Are you my next opponent?" And look at our MC right here with the fire behind him. This guy really is in an action scene. He says, "You've made a grave mistake here." And the bodyguard then leaps away, and it seems like he's going to leave this place for now. We see the fiery halls lit up, and he's going right through them. He says, as he gets a flashback, "What do you want in return?" And this is, I'm guessing, the leader of Glory Club. He says, "Master and I will be returning home," and this is at the hospital. He says, "What do you do, and what do you plan once you get back? Are you going to find a new organization or something?" He says, "I guess that's the fun of it all. The people of Kitoryu have a lot of secrets, you know." Our MC goes up the stairs here, and I guess this is the first time he probably used an emergency exit for an actual emergency. He said he had no idea that their ties were this deep, and we find out that the lady was a leader of Kitoryu at a young age. She killed thousands, but there's one thing she doesn't understand. How did she become Simon? She then says, "You know this better than me. Their beings are at levels that are irreplaceable, and so of course they're more dangerous than nuclear weapons itself," as you see our MC right here when he was younger, as well as Simon. And yeah, these guys just look so cool. It reminds me of John Wick and the Japanese guy. He then says, "What do you mean?" She says, "Sword Phantom is a skilled fighter, but did she really make the cut to become an apostle?" We see Simon's stats right here, and we also see the fake Simon stats, which is that girl, and she's definitely wait, what? She's lacking in the stamina and strength aspect. She then says that she is far inferior to real Simon, and I just don't buy it, that this dude or this girl would become a new apostle. She then wonders what it could really be, and she says, "Who let this girl become one?" Our MC says, "It seems like you were right all along." She then goes on the keyboard, and it seems like she actually understood what got that girl to be an apostle. And I'm wondering what this is. Our MC is now on top of the ship here, outdoors, and he says with his hands in his pocket, "Why would you continue to live your life in the shadow? You didn't really have to do that." Apostle Simon, and oh my gosh, it was the bodyguard all along. That is such a plot twist. His name is Simon, or Kageo, and he is a member of the Japanese killer organization Kitoryu. And did any of you guys expect that? Because I sure did not. He then says, "Ever since I was born, I was told that in this industry, the curious die early." Our MC says, I have no other information on this man, and so he doesn't know how he fights and such. And so this is definitely going to be a hard fight." He then says, as he looks at him, he possesses unearthly force, and yup, he then tells our MC, "Who really are you, and what the heck do you have to do with Peter?" Our MC just chuckles and smirks, saying, "You know what, I would love to tell you, but unfortunately, the curious die early in this industry," and he leaps towards him, and yeah, GG to this guy. We then see him going right at it, and I love the fight scene in this manhwa. Our MC says this guy cannot be read at all. And yeah, bro, because look at this guy's face. It's completely expressionless in a way, and it reminds me of Vasco from Lookism. Nonetheless, our MC gets into his karate stance of some sort. He says this guy must be using a secret of Kitoryu, but really, I don't understand. There's so many openings around his body. He says it's only confusing me. The way he moves, it's like it was just merely born with talent for combat, and it's like fighting a wild animal of sorts. He then says this guy is not using his sight to make decisions in combat, and so this guy was literally born to fight. And yeah, guys, I don't know about you, but that's definitely cool. Anyways, he then puts his hands out of his pocket. He says he has no special attacks. Is that really possible? An apostle without any of those? He has extreme flexibility, and we see our MC launches some chains at him, and he dodges it easily. He says he is unrefined, and he has an unorthodox sort of fighting style. And yeah, this guy is definitely not Mike Tyson, or probably more like Mike Tyson. I don't know. They then both slide on the ground. He says that's all he is. He's strong. Our MC tells him that he's too clumsy, and he then wonders if he never learned to fight. And he says you were never allowed to learn, and this guy's like, how the heck did he know? We find out that he remained in the shadow of the Sword Phantom, and he really wondered why the heck he kept himself suppressed this entirety. And yeah, I'm definitely interested as well, guys, so let's go ahead and find that out. We get a flashback, and it is a beautiful Japanese night. This is Kitoryu's 23rd chief, Uesegi Hidaki. We see an alleyway, and it's filled with bodies, and he says this is a doing of an untamed beast, not an actual person. The man says, "Alright sir, my apologies, I got it." He says, "Wait a second, this isn't actually the work of my team? Then who did it then actually?" We find out as somebody walks out of a 7-Eleven. This mission was too difficult for their team, so Kageo did it on his own, and this guy got the Adidas tracksuit on. Like, yo, this guy is such a cold dude. But of course, you know, that doesn't mean that he's good. Nonetheless, we see they're back at the house, and this guy is speaking to Kageo. He says, "You possess great talent, truly. If only you were of our bloodline of the Kitoryu, you could have been great, because you are truly somebody who was born to eliminate people." The other assistant says, "Chief, should we take care of this guy?" He says, well, as he looks at his sword, and yeah, bro, you're not cold, bro. You're just some old bald guy. Okay, never mind. I'm not even gonna roast this guy. He says, "You know how to take care of fleas." He says they can jump 200 times greater than their own size. But if you put it in a jar, then that's the amount of height that they can jump now. And he says, I have trapped you like a flea in a jar, Kageo. And so pretty much no matter how much he wants to jump, he will never suppress his master. And look, he's literally holding onto the ears of the master or that lady so that she doesn't hear what's going on. We're back in the present, and he says, I'm really surprised that you live your life like that. He then says with a gloomy face, enough bro, stop it. Just kidding, this guy probably wouldn't say it. He would probably say it in a deep voice. He says, I'm getting sick of your blabbering, as he launches towards him like some sort of rabbit. They go crazy once again. He says, come on bro, what's wrong with little conversation? Our MC is a goat. He says all of his movements are reckless, but they're really creative. And so this guy definitely is like the Da Vinci of fighting, or I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Nonetheless, he then tosses him away, and he says this guy really never learned to fight. His jacket is on fire. Our MC just glares at him with a wrist stare, saying this guy uses his instincts to make sure that he eliminates something, and that's pretty much like a panther, as we see an example right here. He says, wait, that actually doesn't explain one thing. He surely is hiding something, and I wonder what it is. On the other hand, Kageo says that this guy has been going for my legs this entire time. He says he's been setting up traps to stop him from using his legs. And so this is kind of our MC's plan, I'm guessing. He says the next time our MC comes for his legs, that he knows what to do. He's going to knee our MC. But then our MC disappears and wraps him in chains. What the heck? Our boy's about to get wrecked right here. Definitely did not expect that. He says, really? What the heck? I'm done for. He then remembers that that's why our MC threw that chain knowing he would dodge it, and this guy is way too calculated. Our MC says, you're probably so lost that you didn't know I was setting up a trap, you little boy. Our MC is probably younger than him right now. Nonetheless, he says a chainsaw could shred through these things, and yeah, that's not ever happening. He then says it isn't over as he brings out the claws like he's Wolverine. Bro just watched the Wolverine vs. Deadpool movie. He then begins to try and break it. He says, wait a second, there's no way. And he just shatters it in an instant. He remembers it during the auction. He put his hands on top of these guys' faces and it burned. He says that means it can't really get anywhere near him because of that unique ability. He says you can try all you want, but you're doomed to disappear today, as he launches towards him, and he's about to grab our MC with his hand, and there's some sort of acid on there. And our MC might need to go see a dermatologist after his face gets burnt or something. Our MC actually stops it by grabbing his wrist, and this guy is way too smart. Our MC pretended to get hit so he could look at his palms, and yeah, our MC really is just a genius. He says that's not actually going to help because he has his other fist with the Wolverine claws, but our MC just falls down and literally does a spin move like he is doing some breakdancing. He says that it's not that he's using a special technique of some sort, but there's a strange liquid coming out of his hands of some sort, and I wonder what's the reason for this. He says from what I can tell, that is able to melt anything from metal to actual flesh. He says, fine, if you want to find out so bad what it truly is, come on and get hit. And yeah, our MC is not that dumb. Anyway, our MC is managing to dodge it, and look at this, it literally burns through the metal pipe that is behind him. He says that this guy is way stronger now that he is actually trying, and his unique blood really is an amazing factor that is going to be detrimental against him. They are going back and forth and back and forth. He then grabs his wrist again, and he says, you're one of them, aren't you? I thought they went extinct. He says a word, and it actually gets this guy absolutely shook. Kageo. He is actually a part of the Doku Yoryu. And of course, he says, how the heck does this guy know? Our MC says, I thought they were all extinct, so how did you survive? We get a flashback to this old Japanese house getting burned. He says, we took out all of the targets, boss. What's left? This guy then says to him, yeah, bro, let's go back now. But then, there are a lot of the babies right here in the barrels, and they are dead because of poison. Oh my gosh, this is so sad. There's only one left, and this is Kageo, and they wonder if they should take him out. He says, actually, you survived. This actually must be meant to be, and there's no harm in keeping one alive. And that kind of rhymed, but that's not even a good part of the story. Nonetheless, he is now back at the Kitoryu, and everybody is tired and beat up. They then say, are you okay? Because it seems like Kageo punched somebody's leg, and it begins to bleed, and oh my gosh, it got burnt off. And it seems like Kageo's hands are filled with blood that was from his opponent because of his special unique blood in his body. The man is watching like, I see. They would feed those individuals deadly poison so their blood becomes acidic. As you see Kageo here literally shivering, and oh my gosh, I would not want somebody to go like this. He explains that he needs to start covering the jar for this flea, and that's what that old man explained before, because a flea can only jump to where, you know, the limit is. Anyways, they then begin to use and practice a sword, and Kageo was just watching from the sidelines because nobody dared to come towards him. He was forced to be a cleaner as a rag hits his face, and the people are like, go ahead and clean and get the heck out of here. Kageo is right here punching on a tree. He says, what did I do wrong? Why was I born like this? But then, wait, what? The tree falls down. He's super strong. He's sweating, and he sees a dead bird right here, or a bird that's struggling. And he was really like a loner, like Kageo. He then climbs up the trees, and he says, wait a second. What the heck? The bird died, guys, from his blood. This is so sad. He says, I'm doomed. Everybody will avoid him, and everybody will hate him as well. He says the only thing that he wants to do now is to make them fear him, because that's the only way for him to live. And that is a lie, of course. Our MC says, I thought the Kitoryu completely eradicated them. But he says with a gloomy look, you don't know me. You don't know anything. Who the heck are you? You have swordsmanship that rivals my master's, and you're literally so young. Our MC says, if you want to know, then you have to defeat me. And it seems like he gets pushed away, but he goes back, dashing towards our MC. Our MC just looks at him like, those little jabs here and there are not going to work. I need to do something huge. This really is a catch-22, and I haven't heard that in a while. And by the way, guys, a catch-22 is pretty much a situation where one is trapped by two contradictory conditions. So it's like a paradox, I guess. Anyways, our MC is dodging this literally by the hair. He gets kicked and sent flying to the windows, and he crashes through one of the warehouses, I'm guessing. He says this might be difficult and I'm truly at a loss. But then he spots a mop behind him, and this guy Kageo enters through the broken glass with his hands touching it because it will just burn it. He says, if you fess up now, I'll let you die a painless death. But our MC just, you know, stretches his shoulder and rolls his shoulder. He says, come at me, bro. And Kageo's like, you've got to be kidding me. And our MC is holding a mop, and yeah, our MC is way above your thinking, bro, so don't even bother it. Just accept it. He says, I'm going to use my secret weapon. He smiles and says, you don't know how dangerous this mop is, right? And oh my gosh, our MC is literally holding a mop. I would not expect this to happen. I guess he's going to mop the floor with them. Okay, anyways, continuing on with the story. Kageo says, bro, you literally lost it. You want to attack me long range or something? He remembers to when our MC was throwing the bottles, and he says this guy must have something up his sleeve. And our MC is literally stabbing at this like it's some sort of spear. Kageo says that he cannot get close range, and if that's the case, it seems like he gave up on defending to attack our MC, but our MC just moves his head to the left as he still has his eyes on him because he has Ultra Instinct, bro. Kageo's like, what the heck is that? What? Our MC uses the mop to hook around his Wolverine claws, and he then spins it. He wonders what our MC is doing. Our MC just smiles, saying he is trapped. He says, what a choke. But then of course he cuts up the mop in an instant, and yo, those are actually pretty sharp. He then knees our MC, but he blocks it with his two hands or two arms. He then slides like he just arrived at the scene like Spider-Man. And of course Kageo says, I overestimated your abilities. Kageo says, you and that mouth of yours just keeps on yapping, doesn't it? He then leaps forward again, and oh, it seems like he just slips right here. Our MC wonders what happened and if he slipped on some water from the mop or something, but he cannot move at all. And he wonders why his arms are like this, as you see smoke coming out, and yo, our boy just became, I don't know, a evaporation machine. He then explains, that poisonous blood of yours has one fatal weak spot. Oh my gosh, what happens when acidic blood meets a chemical of high alkalinity? It seems like that has now been rendered useless, and this dude has just been put inside of a pickle, and that's why our MC threw that mop. He says, I don't need blood to win in a fight, but then somebody says, I'm going to kill you, and it is the fake Simon girl. Oh my gosh. Our MC just says, you know what? Just get out of here, little brat, if you want to live. And she says, bro, it's actually kind of sad right here, but hey, life is cruel. She's missing an arm. She says, I'm going to behead you right here. But she falls to the ground. And she says, that's enough of you, Kageo. She is in his arms, and he says, I can catch Peter. We made a promise, didn't we? We would run away after all of this. Kageo says, I would get Peter myself. She says, no, I need to be the one. Please, just follow me. I am your master. And our MC is just standing there like the emoji. And of course, this is such a sad scene to be unfolding, and W for our MC for not even attacking them. We find out that in the past, of course, it seems like she was actually so kind as she hands Kageo some flowers, and she was the reason why he kept on going. He says, thank you, master, and he's literally holding on to some cleaning materials. She says, what did you say? He says it smells good as he goes down to smell them. He says that the scent of these flowers brought us together despite the differences. We see them walking home right here, but somebody catches them. It is the master, and this guy looks very intimidating, and yeah, bro, you don't want to mess with people who look like this. We then see Kageo get to be beat up, and he says, how dare you lay a finger on her? You need to die, you beast. Yuika, or of course fake Simon, is looking at this. She is scared, and of course Kageo is taking the beating, and he says, the difference is only our blood, and that's a not line that we cannot cross for eternity. We then see it is a rainy day, and Yuika is training, as Kageo is just watching from afar, holding his little mop, or his little cleaning device. Yuika is so happy as we see her perfumes here, and she's also getting dressed. She says, this smells nice. They tell her it was an expensive gift, and she then asks how much it is. She says it definitely was pricey, but we see Kageo right here, and he has a perfume in his hand that's only worth 800 yen, but hey bro, it's a thought that counts. He then leaves it in the trash right here, and he says Yuika was so happy and bright. But after that incident, things have changed. Oh my gosh, we see a group of, bro, we just see some gangsters with an AK-47 M4A1 and just invade the Kitoryu house. He then grabs onto Yuika as he covers her mouth to keep her safe. He then runs down the stairs, and that was the day that sweet little Yuika changed forever. She then goes crazy and she begins to train and train. He says, come on, you can't do this. She says, let me kill them all. I need revenge. She then comes up with a fever as Kageo takes care of her as well. And yeah guys, these guys really are just a W couple, but it's sad that it ended up like this. He explains that many years passed and she finally got revenge. But of course, after their revenge, they had nowhere to go to and they became wanted, as we see them on the flyers right here. We then see they are hiding inside of an apartment door or an apartment room. She says, where do we go next? She seems so fed up. And of course, she says, Kageo, you can leave me, you know? She says, what about this? One day, as she looks at this billboard or this poster, let's go somewhere where nobody will recognize us. And she is looking at a tour for Hawaii. And of course, this is a beautiful dream. Anyway, she is lying down here absolutely defeated, as Kageo promises to be her shadow and protect her, and what a beautiful scene. We are back in the present as she is literally dying in his arms. He then says, Kageo, listen to me. I have this perfume, remember? He's like, wait, why do you have this? She says, I kept this with me for 10 whole years. You really are a blockhead, aren't you? She sprays it on him, mentioning it really smells nice. And whenever they are together, she feels like he truly is her shadow. And she says, I'm sorry that we couldn't keep our promise, as she kisses Kageo. Oh my gosh, no. They then begin to kiss each other and they cry with tears coming out of their eyes. And he says, wait, that's my blood. Spit it out, please. She says, don't worry. This is what's best. And live like this from now on. Finish this for me. He then begins to cry crazily and he yells out, and what a sad, sad scene. I did not expect this, guys. Hopefully we do not catch feelings for these villains, or maybe this guy could turn good, I don't know. She actually passes away and he says as he hugs her tightly, I will definitely fulfill our wish. Our MC is standing there, just literally no reaction. I don't even know what's going on. He says, I'll kill you. And this guy slashes his own body for some reason. And he says, I'm going to take you out and kill Peter. And oh my gosh. We then see a wall get literally crashed through. And these guys are going absolutely bonkers. Our MC mentions that this is more than a fight. This is like his purpose of life. This guy's coming definitely at full force. And of course, this guy's ready to die for this as we look at his expression. And wow, guys, this is so sad. But hey, this is what revenge and vengeance and true sadness really gets you. And you really need a good support team. He says this really is a predicament because even the slightest contact could really end our MC right here. He then launches for our MC again. But he says, what is this? We see 3 fire extinguishers and our MC throws 4 of these cards right here for rooms. He's like, what the heck? These guys trying to use these as weapons? But no, our MC is actually using it to stop the bleeding so the blood doesn't get to our MC. And wow, he says that everybody that have fought faced despair in their final moments, and it was all futile in his presence when he was a bit younger. But now, he says what I'm seeing right now is probably what they saw before. He's lying down here and he's bleeding horribly and sad. He says, you're as skilled as an apostle. You're more than an A-rank killer. There's no way I don't know you. Who the hell are you? He says, there's no point in me finding out, right? Even if I do survive, what's the reason to live on? He says, just take me out. Please just do it. Our MC just kneels over him as he says, do you know the reason the Yamatogami ambushed the Kitoryu? The reason why is actually because of Glory. And he says, what do you mean? He explains 10 years ago, Glory's current boss, in the process of recruiting new apostles, found out about Kitoryu and that caught his eye. He wanted to own the organization, but the chief was a proud man, and so obviously he rejected. And this guy says as he leaves, one day before you realize it, this will be mine. And so it seems like he went to the enemies of the Yamatogami, oh gosh, I mispronounced that. And that's why they completely eradicated the Kitoryu. And that really is a crazy story. And so when they walked up to Glory, it seemed like that was all part of this man's plan. And that's when Glory swooped in to offer them up an apostle position. And that really is cruel. And he got exactly what he wanted. And what he wanted was actually Kageyu, the true shadow of the Kitoryu. And that is a hard truth to swallow, our MC says as he looks at him. And he says, no, there's no way I'm going to fall victim to that. Those vile snakes' twisted lies. Really? He then says, go ask Raphael by yourself. And he really wonders how he knows the boss's codename, because only a few know about it. Kageyo was offered the crucifix, and this probably represents an apostle position. He says, no, I don't want to. He says, what about this? Let's give that title to your master, and that way you can serve her and me as well. He says as he looks at the ground, and he's super angry now. Was everything a lie? Was it all for nothing? He then melts the ground beneath him, and he really says, there's no way this is true, and he wanted to live a completely different life. As you see Yuika or Simon completely looking beautiful here, and she was probably going to be his wide, as you see the flowers she used to give him. He then yells out, how? Our MC says, don't overexert yourself. You'll only kill yourself. And of course, Kageyo says, your friends are going to be in grave danger. We sent our pirates to kill them. He says, I see. But don't worry, as there is a plan. They're then escorting the VIPs out, and these guys have guns and such. They put their hands in the air like, oh, hold up, we got it. They say everything leads to us losing. There's just too many of them. How do we do this? And of course, they have the guns right here. And yeah, I don't know how they're going to do this. I thought they were going to actually fight. Nonetheless, it seems like they are in a predicament. But Dako says, you've been the best brother, Junior. You've been the best as well, and I'll see you in heaven, Biggie. And these guys are going to sacrifice their lives. And oh my gosh, what a W. Kageyo says, if you don't go now, all of them will die. But he says no. There's already a glory killer among them. He mentions it doesn't matter. They're defenseless against those guns. But he says, wait a second. Our MC says there's also another really good one. And we see a Glock here cut in half. Look at the barrel. We see sword slices literally in thin air. And it is Simon! Let's go, guys. He's actually still alive. And they're like, what the heck? They sliced that dude in an instant. And Young Chang Choi is watching like, yeah, how did he do that? Of course, look at him. He looks so cold wearing that coat over his shoulders. And he looks really pissed here. And this guy definitely is in no mood for discussion. We get a flashback back to him talking to our MC. As our MC asks him, what do you think is the absolute worst case? He says, what do you mean? What is the worst case? That's stupid. He then says, well, one of them is actually having your right arm chopped off. And so pretty much that would, yeah, that actually makes sense. Like that pretty much just ruins your ability to wield a sword or even just live. He says, what would you do then? He explains, I actually know what I'd do if I did lose my arm. I would open a noodle shop. And yeah, this guy is like, really, what the heck? Come on, bro. Nonetheless, this guy is taking it too far as our MC notices something, and it is Simon. He is slicing things up, and oh my, he broke his own arm, and he's using his left arm to cut stuff up. Our MC goes up to him like, what's wrong with you? Did you really break your own arm? He explains, I'm being serious here. Just wait. There will be a day where I won't be able to use my techniques. And yeah, this guy just really has good predicting skills. He says if that day comes, I will be ready and make a new sword technique. And that's exactly what he does. As you see Yoon Chang Choi watching, and look at him, bro. He's in absolute awe, just like all of us. He's using his left hand, and he's going even crazier than before. And this has really transcended logic at this point. And this is a left-handed spiral slash, and nobody has ever done this before. And he says in his head, and even out loud, I told you I'd perfect a new technique. And W for Simon, bro. Everybody welcome him back to the gang, and I'm definitely sure that him and of course Simon are going to be able to do a lot of damage to Glory. You guys can also do damage by smashing that like button. It really helps me reach more people that can see this awesome manhwa. Comment down below what your favorite part of the video was. Mine was obviously the Dako brothers becoming rich people with some designers. I will reply to every single one of your comments. Also, maybe make some predictions what will happen in the future. Anyway guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. And by the way, Killer Peter is the name of this manhwa. See ya.